Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 313th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call tonight, we have Donny Baseball, Andy Patterson, and Ozzie Smith. No messing about tonight, everybody. We've got Bellew of the Week's coming up later, a couple of guests as well, plus the previews for next week. John O'Carroll going in against Tevin Farmer. Obviously, there's Errol Spence as well against Mikey Garcia. We'll be previewing all those things later on. We'll also be looking at Dimitri Bivol against Joe Smith Jr. and the Daniel Dubois card. Anthony Yard was on it as well. Friend of the pod, Joe Mullinder, didn't end too well for him against Liam Williams. All the other stuff, all the bits and pieces. No doubt a few questions. A bit of information from the chat. I'm sure they're all in there. We'll go in and have a look in a minute. Let's start off, though, shall we, over in the Dignity Health Sports Park. I prefer the StubHub, but there you go. It's all bullshit promotions at the end of the day and sponsorships, isn't it? That's all they're doing there. Sean Porter, your Dennis Ugas, 29-2-1 Porter going in. Ugas had 3 losses. He's now got 4. I think Ugas, personally, should be the new WBC champion. Don't know where you stand on this one, Ozzy. Bit of a mixed crowd reception for Porter. A few boos. Interesting tactical analysis from the commentators on Fox over there. Lennox Lewis seemed to like Porter's footwork. Goosen mentioned his short arms and a requirement to close the gap on Ugas. But tell you what, this guy was no fool. Porter was struggling, I thought, all night with the Ugas jab. The body shots were going in as well. There was a possible knockdown. Ugas thinks that it was a genuine one, obviously, which could have swayed the cards. Tell me what you thought, Ozzy. I thought Ugas was a worthy winner around the 116, 112 sort of mark.
I thought it was a close fight. I don't mind a 115, 113 either way. I thought it was that close. That saying, I thought it was in the 11th, wasn't it? And I thought it was a clear knockdown for Ugas. Watched it a couple of times, and I don't know why. So it was at the 11th or the 12th.
I think it was the 11th, wasn't it? Didn't they say that there was a slip on the water on the canvas?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't buy that whatsoever. It was, whilst it wasn't a fully, it wasn't a clean, a complete clear cut shot, there was enough there from a connection that knocked him off balance. His legs didn't give way, if you were to slip on something. Whether he was off balance or not as well, it's regardless. And for me, it wins him the fight if that knockdown goes the right way. So he can definitely feel aggrieved. I think Porter underestimated him. Look at the weigh-in. I've never seen a team celebrate that much when the fighter makes weight. I mean, he's had to have a haircut to make weight as well. Is he getting tight there? Or did he clearly just underestimate Ugas and maybe cut a few corners in camp? I thought it was a more than commendable performance, an impressive one, and I wouldn't be shocked if he lobbies for a rematch, Ugas, to be honest. Maybe takes an appeal, because like I said,
Porter said no chance. Porter's not wanting that rematch. He's confirmed that he's not wanting it.
Well, it depends if he looks to lobby for the, if he goes to the. I mean, it wasn't a robbery, was it?
It was a close fight, but he's wanting Spencer apparently next.
Well, I don't mind that then. Look, if he's looking to unify next up, then yeah, fine. I don't think he beats Spence whatsoever. But yeah, if he wants Errol Spence next, then good luck to him. And yeah, I'm more than happy to see that next.
Yeah, if we're not making weight, Andy, there's no chance of haircuts getting us down, unfortunately. But I suppose
Not me, anyway.
No, not me neither. Kenny Porter was celebrating the way he was, I would say, because he knows that future paydays will be at risk if he's not making the weight and the title's getting declared vacant. He's celebrating them still being in the game, and he would be punching the air as well after that performance because, he's got the decision at the end of the day. Fair play to Porter. I thought that he was trying to box a little bit too much at times. He maybe needed a little bit more of the rough stuff. He's like the busy fool, Porter, almost. The guy in work who's always going around with the clipboard or the step ladders, making it look like he's actually doing something when he's really not. I just wasn't impressed with Porter's work at all. I thought Ugas was tall, he was strong, he was enjoying himself, he was getting the right hand off. And while it wasn't a robbery by any means, I just felt that he probably should be the new champion.
He should be the new champion. It wasn't a robbery. It certainly was a close fight, and probably was what he preferred to score, or just what you prefer scoring anyway. But I felt Porter was hesitant at times. He couldn't. I don't think he could bull rush because of the reach and the size of Ugas. And that he wouldn't. I think if he'd done that, he'd have quickly have tired out in that fight, especially after having all that trouble trying to make weight. I thought, like I said, what he was trying to do was trying to kind of crouch and then kind of roll underneath the punches and then try and kind of come up underneath. But that gets tiring after a while. You can see him trying to, box off the back foot. He was slipping to the side and stuff. But you can see you guys, sometimes like working the body and getting the odd shot off and stuff. But I don't think there was absolute enough of it for you guys at times. I just thought if he maybe kept pushing it, kept pushing the action, just kind of kept on top of Porter throughout that entire fight, I think he would either took that fight quite clearly. As it is, it looks like he's going to now fall victim in boxing politics unless WBC are going to step in here and say, look, you're absolutely deserving of a rematch. Obviously, again, the WBC would need to decide if they're going to let Porter unify, if that circumvents the rules to a mandatory. I don't know, but I think a rematch certainly should be in the off. And Porter said no. You guys says he wants one. Again, I personally speaking, I don't think Porter wants to have that type of fight again. I thought he struggled throughout that entire fight. Actually, I just don't think he could really kind of settle on that. And he's not, as you say, you're not impressed with him. I have never been impressed with Sean Porter. He's horrible to watch. He's always bull rushes. He gets done and dirty and stuff like that. Technically, it's not great to watch. And in the end, he should be the loser here. But it is what it is. But a rematch certainly should be in the offing. But I felt for you guys, and I say definitely he can come again. But I can see him now being the victim of boxing politics for a wee while now, actually, as well.
Oh yeah, there's no chance Ugas will get anything now. He's one of these guys. He's paid his dues. He's lost fights. He's come back. He was out for nearly 2 years. They brought him in as the opponent for Jamal James, who was 20-0 at the time. He wasn't supposed to win that. He did. He came back. He's had a lot of good wins over the likes of Govamichevo, who used to be based over here with Gary Hyde. Ugas isn't the type of guy who they'll be bringing back in a hurry. And I actually don't blame Porter. If they're not going to force it, I don't see why he would take the rematch. Talking about Fox TV, I have a few complaints about them, to be honest, Donny. I was impressed with them beforehand. I thought Joe Goosen and Lennox Lewis and the new man Chris Myers worked pretty well on a previous broadcast. It was possibly Thurman against Lopez. Wasn't that fuss this time. I thought Lennox was a little bit off with a few of the things he was saying. I was more team Goosen. There was one round in particular where they gave Porter the entire round because he managed to push Ugas off balance at the end, and I thought maybe Ugas had sort of done enough, but they were getting hung up on CompuBox stats at times, Donny. They put them up in the corner, how many punches have landed, and it seems to be an ongoing thing, and I like that on the periphery. I don't want that in my face all the way through the fights, but at the end of the day, Fox Sports don't care what I like and dislike. What about the suspicious even, Donny, potential knockdown? Do you think it was genuine? Water on the canvas? That didn't strike me as being the case originally, but that's what the commentator said.
Well, the interesting thing is that why do I think he went down? I think it was because of water on the canvas. However, the rules are very clear. If a punch, knocks a guy off balance such that he falls down, a punch landed there and then he went down. That's it. I mean, that's a knockdown by the rules. Even if in our sort of wider lens of things, if we look at it and we say, what really, it was probably more slipping or whatever, but a punch landed there. So Ugas should have been properly credited with a knockdown, and he didn't get it. And that was an issue that would have swung the fight because of the points. Yeah, I mean, he absolutely is deserving of a rematch. He won't get it because the only time one of the sanctioning bodies will ever order a rematch is if they feel like some grave injustice has been done to somebody. But this wasn't a grave injustice. I think, as everybody has said, this was a close fight, and it could have gone either way. I think Ugas should have gotten it, but this isn't the sort of thing where the WBC is going to, be ordering a rematch over the scores, because it was just too close for that. If it had been a wide margin and then Porter got it, then maybe they might do it then. But this isn't one of those cases.
And there's no money in it for them either.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of political and economic juice behind making that rematch. And I think that Porter will try to go and unify now. With regards to the commentary, unfortunately, I should have mentioned, Steve, the context in which I saw it. I was out, so I watched it at a bar, and so I actually wasn't able to hear the commentary. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that they were if the Fox commentary was very deferential to Sean Porter. But I think the real problem with Porter is that, all right, yeah, he probably was a little bit weakened from trying to make that weight. Although really he shouldn't be, though, because I remember he drop down to 144 for Adrian Broner, or 143. So I mean, he shouldn't have any problem making 147. He's not a big guy. And the fact that he did have such a problem, or whatever, suggests to me that maybe he took Ugas lightly, as Ozzy said, and maybe he didn't, maybe he didn't realize what he was really up against, and then he certainly found out when he got in there, didn't he? I noticed in the first few rounds, I thought he gave away some rounds because it seemed like he was trying to box on the outside, which seemed to be very strange to me because, of course, he does have short arms. He's a smaller guy. His game's inside. I mean, when he won, when some of his best fights basically have always been when he gets in there and starts digging to the body. I mean, he's the kind of guy that likes it rough, and he likes it inside, and he likes to make somewhat of an ugly fight or whatever, but that's what he does, and that's how he wins. And that's what makes Sean Porter. And for the first part of the fight, I mean, he was the exact opposite of that. He was trying to box on the outside, and I think I was trying to say to myself, well, as I'm watching, and I'm like, why isn't he trying to get inside? And I think it was that jab of Ugas. I think that he made it so that Porter had a disincentive to come inside. He made it harder for Porter to get inside and made it harder for Porter to fight his fight, which is exactly what he was supposed to do. He used his height, he used his reach, and I thought that Ugas should have won the fight. He probably, it's unfortunate. He won't get credit for it. He probably won't get the rematch. He may be out there in the wilderness of the welterweight division, waiting for his shot again, and it is unfortunate that he got screwed in that way, but I thought that he really rightfully should have been the winner in a close fight.
Only just before you run off, I have downloaded the welterweight fight between Francisco Santana and Abel Ramos. I know they put it on to put on a bit of a slugfest, one for the fans to enjoy, two limited but reasonable sort of gatekeeper guys going at each other. Is it worth watching? What's your assessment of that fight?
No, it was good. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a close fight. I would say that that Ramos was a worthy winner. He did overcome a second round knockdown, and he did eventually get the unanimous decision, and he deserved it or whatever. But it looked like, I mean, basically, what's his name? Francisco Santana. I mean, he's a veteran. He was put in there. I mean, they expected Abel Ramos to win. He did. He got tested in there a little bit. He got knocked down. He got his nose bloodied, and but he came back from it, and he put in a good performance. I mean, there's a lot of future there for him, and I mean, we see these kind of fights all the time. I mean, this is it kind of went exactly the way I think that it was supposed to go. They put him in there against a veteran who was supposed to test him. He was tested, and he came through it. And yeah, certainly worth watching, but wasn't an amazing fight by any means.
Thank you, Donny, for that assessment. Joining us on the call now, we have our first guest of the evening. It's Atif Shafiq. How are you, Atif?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you indeed for joining us. Let's get stuck straight into it. We saw a bit of action last night. Dimitri Bivol, Sean Porter. There was a card as well from London on Friday night. Did you get to see any of the action over the weekend?
Yeah, I watched bits of all the shows, to be honest. I've not really had a chance to sit down and watch the whole show yet. I've seen bits of the Porter fight. That was a close competitive fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, we thought so. A few guys here thought Ugas might have done enough, but Porter just getting the win and defending his title.
Yeah, Porter is always in exciting fights. I thought he probably just about nicked it with his work rate. He's always got a good ending, hasn't he? He does plenty of work through the fight, so I think he just nicked it for me, but it was a good competitive fight. Yeah,
he was struggling at the weight as well. Not often you see somebody getting their hair cut to get down to the limit.
Yeah, that's a first for me. I've heard about that before, but yeah, that's a first for me seeing that. But usually, Porter, even when he fought Broner, I was surprised. I think he got down to 145 for that one.
Yeah.
That was like catch weight, wasn't it? And I thought I would struggle doing that, but he got to that one, so I was surprised that he missed 147 the first time by a few pounds, but then he got to it eventually, didn't he? So with the haircut,
yeah, indeed.
got him.
I don't know whether you'd be willing to have a haircut, but tell us about, from a fighter's point of view, what it's like just trying to get down to the weight, especially those last few days.
Yeah, it's the last few pounds out of the way, so them few pounds that Porter took off there at the end. But God knows what he went through beforehand to get even that low as far as he did. So maybe there might have been, because I know Porter, he's a disciplined kind of guy, so maybe there might have been some sort of mishap in training or with the diet. That might have been the reason why they had that extra few pounds that they normally don't, because it is difficult, obviously, making weight. But if you're on track, like with me now, I'm fighting in 3 weeks and I'm bang on schedule. I always write all my stuff down, so I know where I need to be around this stage of camp, and I know I'm bang on track. But I think maybe with Porter, there might have been some sort of mishap maybe in the build-up that might have affected him later down, coming down on the home stretch for the last week to get the last few pounds off.
Yeah, I think you're right, because he is quite a disciplined guy. But you mentioned your fight there coming up soon in Rotherham. You were down for a small hall 6-rounder recently, weren't you? But it didn't come off.
Yeah, I think I was scheduled to fight Willie Warburton February 15th on a little dinner show. But then I think there are too many cancellations. Opponents pulled. There were only 4 fights on anyway. And out of them 4, I think 3 ended up having to fall through, so they couldn't put a show on with just 1 fight on. So that fell through. But then, thankfully, I got another date now for March the 30th over at Magna on a decent local show. Hopefully get this first 6 round out of the way, and then we can get stuck in on some big fights.
Hopefully so, because you hadn't boxed in nearly a year, so it's time to start shaking off the rust now.
Just over a year, just over a year. So I've made some changes to my team, and I'm looking forward to getting in the mix and showing what I've been improving and learning on.
Yeah, tell us about those changes, because you were with the Ingle Gym, you've left them now. Did you just need a change?
Yeah, I was at the Ingle Gym for 9 years, but I felt it was just time for a bit of a change, just to revitalise my career. I had some ups and downs there, but I always gave that place the benefit of the doubt. It was home for 9 years. I loved it growing up there. It was amazing, but just felt it was time for a change. Obviously now I'm managed by Dave Cordwell, and I'm training over in Manchester with Arun Headley, who's a young, hungry trainer. He's a hungry trainer, and I'm a hungry fighter. So I think that works well with us too. And I'm enjoying it. I'm learning new things. I'm sparring lots of good fighters, and I can't wait to get in and show what I've been improving and learning.
Yeah, you mentioned, obviously, Dave Caldwell's managing you now. Obviously, you're hoping that Dave will have the experience and the connections to move you forward.
Yeah, exactly that. Most of the connections, really. I think, obviously, he's in there with Eddie Hearn and the Matchroom lot, so hopefully we can get some opportunities on their shows. I've boxed on Sky before a couple of times, so they're familiar with who I am anyway. But hopefully with Dave's connection, it does help me get the bigger fights.
Just to remind our listeners, we've got Atif Shafiq on the call. He's on Twitter at Unique Shafiq. Any other social media presence?
Yeah, on Instagram, same again at Unique Shafiq, and Facebook Atif Shafiq.
Yeah, go and give him a follow, everybody. So even though you haven't had any fights, I take it you've been in the gym routine day by day?
Oh, non-stop. It's my life. I've been making, from 12 months ago to now, obviously, I boxed against Lee Appleyard March the 3rd. And which I think March the 8th today, the improvements I've made in them 12 months, even though I've not boxed, I feel like a completely different fighter. And I'm just eager now just to get stuck in and get active and get some momentum going. That's what my career's been missing in the last few years. I've not really had no real momentum, but I've still been performing. So it's just a matter of getting the ball rolling and staying consistent now, because I'm always in the gym. I'm always working. It was just things that were out of my hand that weren't happening. So hopefully with the changes, things will start moving forward into the right, forward to the right direction.
Yeah, because you've had a bit of bad luck as well, because you're supposed to fight Andy Townend, weren't you?
Yeah, I was training for that. I think early October that was meant to be, and then I picked up an injury that needed operating on my right elbow. Nothing major, but it was a problem, and it set me back there. I had the operation. I'm recovered from that, and I've seen Andy Townend. I think he's fighting for the British title now. He was meant to fight with Ritson, but I think Ritson's vacated. He's moving up, so I think they're talking about the Cordina fight. So it's good. It's good to see that that's my level. I'm not far off that myself. So hopefully we'll get this fight out of the way, March the 30th, get a good win, and then I want to be big fights myself. So I'll be watching the Cordine and Townend fight with a close eye.
Yeah, you mentioned being in big fights. You've been in big sparring sessions anyway. You were sparring with Josh Warrington in the lead up to the Lee Selby fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was his main sparring partner. It was a good. I think I spent 6 weeks with them. They were good people. His whole team, his dad, his trainers, his assistants, everyone. It was all. It was good to be around them. They're good people, and I built a good relationship with Josh through that period. And he's a nice guy and a very, very good fighter as well. Underrated fighter. I didn't realize how good he was, obviously, until I got in there. That's the same as Selby and Frampton as well. They were both shocked at how good he is. Until you get in there, he's one of them fighters that's a lot better than he looks on the outside.
Yeah, interestingly as well. I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but you've sparred his future opponents as well, Kid Galahad, haven't you?
Yeah, I've probably done thousands rather than Kid Galahad. I was, again, training with him for 9 years alongside him, so I've done thousands and thousands. But that's going to be a very, very good fight. I'm looking forward to watching that just as a fan. And
Jordan Gill, you got in with him. He had a good win a couple of weeks ago in Peterborough.
Yeah, again, I was Jordan's main sparring partner for that as well from the start of the year. I've been helping him out. He was fighting a tall, Mexican tall fella. So I helped him. I did quite a few rounds with him, and he was looking sharp all the way through. His confidence has grown so much from when I was training with him to now. He's improved so much as a fighter, and he's become a star. It's good to see. I'm very, very happy for him.
Yeah, at Unique Shafiq, everybody, over on Twitter, other platforms as well. Atif is 19-2 with 5 knockouts from Rotherham. Tell me about those couple of losses there. What's the verdict? Abdon Caesar and Andreas Mayer.
I think the Abdon Caesar one, I was 11-0, 12-0 going into that, and his record wasn't the best, but he was very capable. But I felt at the time I wasn't really told by my team that, all right, this is going to be a real fight now. I just went in there with the journeyman mentality. And I was caught. He caught me with some hell of a shots. But obviously, it was still a close fight. To this day, I don't remember it. I was concussed after the second round. I still don't have no recollection of that fight. But it's an experience, and I just got on with that one. Got back to the gym and kept learning, kept moving forward. And the other one, Andreas Mayer, I was out of the ring for a year due to injury, a major injury I had on my left wrist, and there's little problems, getting to the venue a bit later than we should have done, or quite a bit later. I felt I wasn't really warm going into that fight, and it just caught me cold and put me on my ass for the first time since however long I've been fighting, in 15 years. Not the first time I've ever been down. Been in there with a lot of good fighters, but never been down before. I felt like I got back up. I remember getting up at 6, 7, 8, and I felt I was ready to continue, but the referee thought otherwise, and it is what it is. I dust myself off once again, got back in the mix, and they say you're only as good as your last fight. My last fight was a knockout win against the current English champion at the time, so I'm feeling good. I'm at my best now. I'm feeling I'm coming into my prime, and I just can't wait to get into some big fights.
Yeah, moving onwards and upwards, starting with the 30th of March. Just finally then, Atif, by the end of 2019, where do you want to be at?
I want to be British champion.
British champion.
British champion, yes. British Commonwealth.
Lovely stuff.
I believe I'm more than good enough. I'm more than good enough, and I'm ready.
Well, best of luck on the 30th, and then hopefully things will start to move into place. You'll be keeping an eye.
Fingers crossed.
You'll be keeping an eye on the big fight, and then hopefully soon it'll be you getting that opportunity.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan.
Great. At Unique Shafiq, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us, Atif. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, mate.
All the best now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah.
Atif Shafiq there, everybody.
You shut that.
Fuck you, Andy. I'm not going to repeat what he was writing in the chat. There's nothing to do with Atif, by the way. It was unrelated.
He's good, though. Good talker, that boy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Rapid fire till our next guest in about 5 minutes' time. Yeah, good luck to him. Seems like a nice guy. No excuses, really, with the old losses and that. That's what we like to hear. Andy, let's go right up in weight, shall we? From Atif's weight, which I think is around the sort of super welterweight type of region, up back to Sean Porter's card. We mentioned Santana, we mentioned Porter. I'm liking the look of this heavyweight. They always love a bit of a heavyweight. This Nigerian, Efe Ajagba, went in against Amir Mansour. He was too small, Mansour, wasn't he? Jagba, he looks the part. He's tall, he's strong, he can hit pretty hard. I'm liking the look of this guy already.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, Mansour's no great or whatever, and that, but to kind of take him out like that, it is quite impressive. I don't think he really recovered for that jab right hand. I don't know if he actually even hurt his leg or his knee at the time as he went down the first time, but just never really recovered. And we want to see this guy out active again and stuff. I know he's fought. He fought the big Kazakhstani, the baldy heated boys at Daichenko, I think, as an amateur back in the Olympics and stuff in 2016. So, yep, it looks like he looks good. I'm not going to proclaim anything at the minute. We want to see more of him. Okay, if you look at his record and that, he's fought like Curtis Harper, and some people have got winning records and stuff, but maybe that's a kind of market employee, but steady but surely. I'm not going to proclaim anything at the minute, but he's certainly a good addition, at least hopefully to the division. And I don't know what else I saw that card actually. I did see Santana, and I see Payano won last night as well in an 8-rounder.
Yeah, he was in against the 14-0. He maybe wasn't expected to win that.
Aye, well, possibly. I see Jesus Queller on the card as well. Is that true, Robert? Aye, Robert Guerrero was on there as well. Fucking hell.
Yeah, he beat Herrera, didn't he?
Aye, I never really saw that fight, sorry.
No, I didn't see it either. I'm not no interest in watching Guerrero anymore. I think he's had a good career, but we mentioned it last week, Andy. I want to see him hang the gloves up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know why he fought. To be honest, I can't really grudge him fighting. Okay, he's taken a few heavy licks now over the last couple of years and stuff, but this guy, he took care of his wife. He's went out the ring for, was it 18 months, 2 years to fend for her. He's come back. He's just want to make as every much penny as he can possibly get, because he's been to the darkest side, I suppose. He knows how much it's going to cost if his wife ever goes back into comes out of remission or whatever, and that she gets cancer again. He's going to need the money, I suppose, at some point, just in case. Dying in America doesn't come fucking cheap, by the way.
No, it certainly doesn't. Yeah, if he's back for those reasons, then I don't blame him. But I'm just worried that he's taking too many punches, don't I?
Yeah, he is. I just wanted to make a quick note about that Mansour fight. So that young Nigerian heavyweight who won, his name escapes me because it's complicated. What was the guy's name?
Ike Ibeabuchi.
Wasn't
no, it's Effie Ajagba.
No, it's Effie Ajagba, right?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Don. I'm joking.
Yeah, that was the guy. That was the guy. Remember the guy that walked out the ring? That guy Harper.
Yeah, that's right. It was against the Jagba, yeah.
Aye, so it's just what I'm saying. People say, "Oh, he didn't fight him." He did fucking fight him. The guy just shit his pants for him and fucking walked out the ring.
Yeah,
that's fear, baby. Even Joshua can adapt people.
That, by the way, I'm going to say something though. I think that's a very good win for him because what people have to understand about Mansour is that even though he's a little bit older, he's in his mid-40s. He was preserved for a long time because he didn't take punishment for about 10 years because he was in jail.
He was taking a different type of punishment.
Yeah.
Aye. How many years in prison did he do again?
But no. In all seriousness, I mean, so when first of all, I was actually a ringside covering for the Asylum the Mansour versus Cunningham fight, and Mansour almost knocked him out. I mean, Cunningham was on the floor, and I thought that Cunningham got a long count, personally. I thought that should have been a knockout win for him. And also, you hear all these Matchroom FC, supporters talking about Dominic Brazil as if he's some sort of, big deal or something because Joshua knocked him out and they like to big him up. And he's really shit. But really, Mansour almost knocked him out, too. And then actually at some point in a freak accident, Mansour bit through his tongue and literally nearly severed his tongue. And that's why they had to stop that fight. But but Brazil was on the way out. He was literally knocked almost out. And if he hadn't bit through his tongue, he would have finished Brazil in the next round. I'm sure of that. And so that was an ugly win for Brazil or whatever. Mansour's a tough customer, and even at this advanced age, he's good. So if Effie Ajagba knocked him out and dominated him like that, that's a good win for him. That's a really good win for him. I didn't see the fight, but knowing what I know about Mansour, and I think a lot of the general public doesn't know about Mansour and about his history or whatever, but he's a decent fighter. I mean, he's sloppy, but he has some kind of a punch on him, and when he connects, for most people, it's lights out. So that's a very good win.
Thanks, Donny. Let's move back to Friday night now and welcome our second guest of the evening onto the call. It's Denzel Bentley. How are you, Denzel?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Not too bad at all. Thanks very much for joining us. We were just saying there, we were talking a bit of Porto. We were talking about the card over in Dimitri Bivol against Joe Smith Jr. But tell me about your fight on Friday night. Good knockout win over Julio Cesar.
Yeah, it was a good win. It was a long night. I ended up being afloat. So, you know how that works. You just got to wait until there's a early stoppage so you can slip in. But unfortunately, all the knockouts came late and I had to box right at the end. But all my crowd stayed. Everyone that came to see me stayed, and it ended up a good night in the end.
Tell us mentally how you have to deal with that. Then you're walking around backstage, probably gloved up, ready to go, just waiting for the call.
Yeah, I was gloved up from about the second or third fight, just warming up. And it's like you warm up, then you cool down again, warm up, cool down again, and you just have to stay mentally ready. So my trainer just kept telling me relax, just trying to relax me, saying, okay, don't worry about it. Whatever they say, even if they say you're on, don't get excited, just relax. I had to keep relaxed, keep warming up, and keep warming down, and just try and stay ready. And
obviously, you did something that you're quite used to doing. You're 9-0 with 8 knockouts. It's another one. Fell early.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just one of those things that I don't know. I feel like when I hit someone and I've got them going, I just get on them to finish them. I just don't give them the chance to recover. I try not to give them the chance to recover. I try to finish them off. So yeah,
the only person who's took it the distance so far is Christian Hoskin Gomez. You can see that, everybody at home, over on YouTube. It looked like it was a great noise in the York Hall that night. You can definitely shift some tickets.
Yeah. I've got great support, man. Family, friends, and now even just general fans. Everyone gets in contact to come and see me. A lot of people like my style. They like the fact that I can box and I can, deliver knockouts. So everyone just likes to see me. When we come out, it's an exciting night. It's a night out when I'm boxing. Everyone comes out. You might go do something after, and that's it. So it's good. I've got a good crowd.
Yeah, I like what I've seen so far. You look like an excellent mover. You're a bit of a switch hitter as well, and you like to attack the body, which is good.
Yeah. I switch a lot. I try to remember to go to the body as much as possible because as fighters you can just headhunt when you feel like you've got someone hurt. So I try to go to the body every now and then and switch my attack. I like moving. Being able to knock someone out is just a bonus, really. Because as an amateur, I hardly knocked anyone out. So I came into the game boxing, so that's why I know how to box and move my feet and stuff. That's how I learned how to fight.
How important is it to you to be fighting regularly? Because you're in the gym, you're training, and you're constantly focused on the next fight.
It's for me, it's very important because I'm always in the gym, like you just said. So I'm always in the gym, but when I'm in the gym, I don't just want to be in the gym training because there's that little. You could train hard, but when you've got a date, there's a little switch in your mind where it's there's more focus now. You could be doing the same thing you're doing beforehand, but once you got a date, you just feel like you push harder, you're more ready. So it's just to get mentally ready. I don't want to just be sitting in the gym training with no date. I like being switched on. It gets me excited to be in the gym. It gets me excited to go training because training's hard. You don't just want to be going to the gym just to be training without a date. So for me, it's important to fight. And the more I fight, the more exposure I get. The more I fight, the further I go in the rankings and stuff. So it's just, for me, everything's exciting right now.
You're based in the Peacock Gym. Tell us about your training regime. And obviously Daniel Dubois is in the same gym as well.
Yeah, he's in the same gym as well. There's a lot of us. There's about 7 or 8 of us boys in the gym. We all work hard. We're there Monday to Friday training. We train really hard. I'm not saying anyone else doesn't. Every fighter trains hard, but we train really hard. A lot of fitness, a lot of training, and also a lot of practicing because a lot of people can train hard, but they don't really practice. And when I say practice, I mean about practicing your shots. So in sparring, we don't just have tear-ups. We're practicing. So we're using that jab. We're repeating shots we've learned on the pads, and we're working on things that maybe we fell short on in a fight. So you keep getting caught with certain shots, or your movements off. We practice these things in the gym, so it's good. It's a nice little setup, a nice gym. There's loads of us. Like I said, there's about 7 or 8 of us. We're always pushing each other on, and it's nice to train in a big group at times because when you're not feeling up for it, and everyone else around you's up for it, you just go harder. And everyone trains hard, everyone works hard. No one there's lazy. So we all just feed off each other's energy. We all want to be champions, so it's good.
Just to remind the listeners, Denzel Bentley's on the call at 2sharp_D over on Instagram. Any other social media presence, Denzel?
Just Twitter. It's the same at.
Same handle as well. You mentioned about practicing there. Are you practicing going the rounds? Because when you hit people, they go, but at some point, someone's going to hang around when you get up to title level.
Yeah, in the gym, I do a lot of rounds in sparring. It's not that I try to do that 4 rounds or 6 rounds. I'm always doing rounds. I do about 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds. I'm always in the gym doing rounds. And in the gym, you've got big gloves and head guards and stuff, so you're not really hurting anyone. And I'm not looking to hurt anyone in the gym when I'm sparring. If I hurt someone in sparring, I'll take a step back. Then when they recover, we go again. So in sparring, I'm like I said earlier, I'm practicing. So I'd throw certain shots and move in certain directions, and I'll try and set people up for certain shots, and then work on my movement more. And also, like, when you get tired, what do you do when you're tired? Move around, catch a breath, just little things. I'm always learning in the gym, and especially in sparring, so it's good.
Excellent. Final couple of questions, and we do thank you for your time. What's the general aim for the rest of the year?
I've said it from the end of last year and the beginning of this year. I want titles this year. I know this fight I only had a 4-rounder because it's kind of like introducing myself into the Warren stable and stuff, getting people to know me. So I have my first fight with them. But what I'm aiming for this year are titles. I don't want us to waste time hanging about trying to build a record fighting people that I'm meant to beat. Because even though that you're fighting people that you're meant to beat, you can still have hiccups and be beaten, as we've seen before in the past with so many fighters. So the more I move up in level, the more focus and strength I get, and the harder I train. So that's me. I'm like if you keep me at the same spot, I just kind of tend to, how do I say it? Not lazy, but you just kind of just remain the same. You put another task ahead of me, I'm trying to beat that task and complete that kind of task you set for me. So I want titles this year, and I feel like I don't want to be rushed or move fast. But I feel like the pace I'm moving at is fine. And if I get titles this year, you see more of me, and you'll see how good I am and how good I can be.
Are you looking to go the traditional route, like Southern area, English, that type of route?
I'd love to. I'd love to. That's what I've said. If you get the Southern area, English, British, that's the traditional route. But if we have to go past the mix for any reason, maybe like, I don't know, maybe some fights can't be made and stuff, then obviously I'd have to move on. But if I can go that route, then I'd be happy.
And on that subject, we've spoken to a few guys in recent weeks, like Joe Mullinder, Sonny Edwards, and their attitude has been very refreshing because they've rejected the culture of the unbeaten record. They want to test themselves in meaningful fights. Do you share that philosophy?
Yeah, of course. Listen, I'd want to stay unbeaten my whole career. But the way, for me, in my personal opinion, the way you do it is by beating what's in front of you, not by avoiding fights just to stay undefeated and keep talking about building things for the future. Because right now, the future's here. Like, we have to get these fights on in order for you to get what you want in the future. So for me, if you can beat me, take the fight and try and beat me. But for me, I'm trying to stay unbeaten by protecting my record, by beating these good fighters in front of me. I want to be the best, not just an undefeated fighter. Everyone's undefeated nowadays, and you look at their records and they haven't fought anyone. I'm not saying I've fought anyone at the moment, but I'm willing to fight people and not just give it a go. Actually try to beat them, like train to beat them. That's my mentality.
Completely understand. Instagram, everybody, and Twitter at 2sharp_D. Really good talking to you, Denzel. 9-0, 8 knockouts. This guy's going places, everybody. Keep an eye on him. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Cheers. Bye now.
Bye.
I love what he said.
That was good, wasn't it? I really enjoyed talking to him.
I love when he said the future is now. That was, he definitely seems. I really like that gentleman.
You gonna get that tattooed on your chest, Donna?
No, not exactly, but I'm definitely going to be watching and supporting. The interesting is, I was wondering if you were going to ask him if he was from Peckham, because at least for me, my experience of British people named Denzel is confined to only fools and horses. Yeah, where remember when Del Boy thinks he killed the canary? Yeah.
You actually watch it?
No, I don't think I'll bring that up. He's listed as from London, Donny, but he's based in Battersea. And do you remember the Battersea bomber, Howard Eastman?
David Eastman. Battersea. I thought he's for Bermondsey.
Yeah, Millwall, yeah. There you go then. I enjoyed listening to him, and he's decent as well, Donny. So if you go on YouTube, he's not a bum. He can definitely box, and he can clearly punch as well. So I think that Denzel Bentley is definitely someone keeping an eye on.
Yes, absolutely.
Donny's seal of approval there, everybody. Let's move on. What we were talking about before we went off, Ozzy, I was going to bring you in, actually. I was going to ask you about, it wasn't an American card. Yeah, it was over in Brentwood last night. Michael McKinson, Ryan Kelly, we mentioned it last week even. Mikey Saki was on the undercard as well. This was the IFL MTK show, wasn't it? Did you manage to catch anything of it?
I saw bits of it. I didn't see anything. I didn't watch all the fights in great detail. McKinson's decent. I like this guy. He's clearly got ability. Lacks a bit of pop in his punches, but he's got the skills. And he basically said, "No, that look, I don't want to be defending this WBC fringe belt. I want to be going the traditional route, and taking the bigger fights for English, British titles." And I thought that was quite refreshing to hear in a day and age where people are obsessed with winning bogus belts because it gives them fake rankings. It was good to hear that he wants to go the traditional route and get his hands on an English title, a British title. And like I said, the fight last night was probably worthy, of like an English title. Ryan Kelly, 13-1, won at area level. But now McKinson's decent. As for Saki, I mean, he walloped Idris Hill, and that was done and dusted relatively quickly. There was a couple of upsets on the cards, really. I'm just having a look now. The two unbeaten prospects, DP Carr and Mitchell Frierson, both drew with Scott Moses and Scott James. So that's an interesting two essentially wins on the road for the away corners. I mean, the card was massive, absolutely huge. Harley Ben was on it. Stephen Ormond, obviously we mentioned him last week, Steve. And Isaac Lowe as well. He got a routine points win as well, and he's looking to move on to bigger things as well. So, no, MTK, like I said, they're keeping people active in their stable, and it's good to see. Like I said, they're trying to put, two meaningful fights on the card, which headline and chief support, and then the rest is your typical small hole card, getting young prospects active against different styles and different opponents and where they can learn the trade.
Talking of styles and opponents, it's all going on tonight at the Royale Club in Boston, Massachusetts, Sunday night. Danny Kelly Promotions, everybody, if you're in and around that area. There's no less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavyweight title fights. Well, not title fights, heavyweight fights anyway. No opponents as yet. Donny Palmer, you might remember him, not Donny Baseball, getting knocked out by Joe Joyce in London. He's on the card. Erkan Tepper's on the card as well in Boston, naturally. And Malik Scott as well. So if you're over in that sort of area, get on down. Right, let's get on down with you, shall we, Andy, and take a look at this card. Where the hell was it, actually? Oh, yeah, it was over in New York, Verona, New York. Dimitri Bivol against Joe Smith Jr. We weren't sure how good it was going to be when we were talking about it last week. I felt that it was a reasonable enough card. Good effort from Joe Smith Jr. You know what you're going to get from him. Bivol, I don't know, Smith is the perfect foil, isn't he, Andy, for someone like Bivol? He eats them up, he walks straight forward, he puts on pressure, and he made Bivol look really good. What I liked about Bivol was he put the pressure on in the last few rounds, like he did against Sullivan Barrera, something he didn't do against Isaac Chilemba and John Pascal. Maybe it's a case of styles make fights. Barrera was coming forward, Smith was coming forward, and he really let the shots go. And I think maybe another round or so, and Smith might have been pulled out of there because he was starting to take a bit of a shellacking. What did you make, more importantly, of Bivol's performance?
Yeah, it was sound, technically sound. What I did notice mainly was, we've spoke about this. I think I even mentioned it with Buatsi as well. I'm sure we've mentioned it with Bivol. The size of him, it was quite telling there last night after rehydration that Smith was clearly the bigger guy. He was Smith. Smith isn't great. I did say this last week, but he's probably your gatekeeper type. He's strong, rugged. It will cause you some sort of problems, but in the end, I just don't think Bivol had any problems whatsoever. His jab was absolutely crisp, very effective. Power punches were all getting home. I think he even landed. I think he even landed over 50%. I'm not even going to go into compy box, but I'm sure that's what they said on commentary. I think maybe Smith was maybe stumbled once in the fight, however, and Bivol was maybe trying to finish him off, but it was more like a kind of disorientation problem for Smith actually than actually being hurt. it was interesting. I kind of felt what Bivol said after the fight. I'm sure he said that he felt like he could have maybe knocked him out. I'm not so sure about that actually. I think this, especially Rob was saying that he's never done really nothing that can really excite us. I think the problem is he's actually boxing against the bigger guys, and he's actually not got the power to actually knock these guys out. I think if he comes down a division, it might be a different story.
I agree. He's technically very, very good.
Though, he is very good. He moves pretty well. Balance, his foot movement, especially his jab and his right hand, and he can stay. The saying is this: if you're going to step in, you got to commit. He didn't step in half-hearted and get fucking tagged. He steps in and he's back at distance again. He was really, really good at it. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You want to see him have that wee bit extra to it, basically, i.e., knock fuckers out, because this is what sells tickets. This is what gets people talking about you, But no, I can't really kind of fault it at the end of the day. We want unification fight things. That's obvious, but we mentioned it last week. Light heavyweight is. Again, it's got a problem with the TV deals and stuff. But end of the day, very good performance by Bivol.
Andy, are you saying that you think that Bivol should move down to 168?
Yeah. If he can do it.
I've always thought that he looks small, yeah.
He does seem a little bit small. I mean, honestly, Joe Smith Jr. is a working class lunch pail fighter, literally speaking. I mean, he actually has a union job doing construction in New York.
That's the thing. He's a part-time player.
But he's a really tough customer, and he's really. I didn't see the fight, and I'm not going to opine about the fight because I haven't seen it. But what I'm saying is that he's a tough bastard. But really, Bivol, his class, his amateur pedigree or whatever, he should knock somebody like Smith out, but he didn't. And I can't help but think that you're right. I mean, if he were able to drop down to 168 pounds, he would probably own that division if he could do that.
Him and Smith would be a good fight at 168. It would be really good because it'd be interesting to see as well how big Smith actually is compared to Bivol. How would Smith look like when he went up in weight? I mean, obviously we all think Smith's a big guy. He looks skinny at the weight, but I think he would fill out pretty well at 175. But I think that'd be a good fight to make if Bivol can make that weight safely.
Benavidez as well, yeah.
Yeah,
he's fighting next weekend. Yeah, good points. He boxed Rob Kelly's with us, everybody. He boxed off the back foot for the early on, Bivol, but he started pushing the action, coming forward himself, and then around the 6th round. And I thought he was starting to overwhelm Smith in the 7th round, but Smith hung in there, and Bivol, he did show varied dimensions to his own game. And where do you stand on his performance?
Big time. I mean, look, I love watching Bivol, but I know that the general public is not going to be into as into Dimitri Bivol as I am. I think he showed a couple of flashes earlier in his career that if he can catch you clean, he can knock you down. Sullivan Barrera is a tough competitor. I expected him to stop Pascal, and he didn't. And I think I think Andy could be right about the size. What I would say is that you kind of learned a little bit more about him, Bivol, last night. It was an intriguing fight because Joe Smith, like Donnie, was David Hayter was saying that, or was it Donnie, that he's a bread and butter fighter. He is a working class guy, but sometimes those awkward guys give you more problems than an orthodox guy. Dimitri Bivol is so technical, and sometimes you see a guy who has no technique causing those guys some problems. And I thought he was doing that in the first couple of rounds for Bivol. He was smothering a little bit, and even though he was pulling out, he was getting caught sometimes. And we found out that he has a beard because Joe Smith can punch like a mule, and he caught him a couple of times. I think caught him on the bell at one stage. And Bivol looked like he was kind of shook to his boots as he grabbed the ring. He caught him around the side of the head, and he was punching him with the right hand in the clinch around the side of the head. So Bivol showed he got a bit of a beard. He also showed that if you catch him, he wants to get you out. So I think he was very close to the stoppage in the 12th. From what I saw, I only saw the fight once, but he's a suitable heir to the Andre Ward throne in that he's technically supreme, but he's not going to put bums in seats. I saw Kovalev has called him out for a unification fight now.
Let's see it, man.
So I'd happily see that. I know that with the networks now it might be a bit of a problem, but that was the fight we wanted to see before Kovalev lost to Alvarez. So he's redeemed himself. Let's see that fight now. I think that could be Bivol's breakout performance because I think he would box the ears off Kovalev. I really do. Even though Kovalev's a lot bigger, he's shown he can take a punch, and I think he's just that younger, fresher version. I don't know if it's an interesting one as well though, because he, as much as his style is not the typical Eastern European style, he's very loose, lovely with the left hook last night. I think, Joe Smith kind of was instrumental in his own downfall, because if you're going to shift punches to an orthodox guy, you're especially going to shift left hooks if you keep coming in with your head down, walking straight forward. But I think as much as he has an Eastern European pedigree, his style is a little bit more American. So I don't know if he has that kind of infighting mentality that Ward was able to bring to the Kovalev fights, where he was able to sap it out of him like and beat him on the inside. So really, really interesting fight. I hope we see that one if Bivol is going to campaign at 75. But at 68, I think he wipes the floor with everybody. Like, fuck me. Imagine what Bivol would do to Eubank. Holy shit.
Well, we've got a belly of the week coming, Rob, that thought that Eubank would have too much activity for him.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Social media activity, maybe, or nightclub activity.
No, the thing is I think Bivol is he's promoted by Kathy Duva, isn't he?
No, he's with Hearn now, isn't he? Plus one of the Russian crowds in conjunction, I think, possibly. Is he?
Oh, okay.
No, isn't Kovalev with main events, I think?
Kovalev's with main events. I thought Bivol was too. I kind of thought that...
You might be right. I don't think so, though. Let's have a look, shall we?
If I'm wrong about that, then I'm sorry. But I basically thought that basically main events, like, their main fighter is Kovalev, but, at the same time, I thought that they were trying to set up Bivol to be the... I know they have Barrera, but I thought that the next thing they were going to be trying to set up was to make Bivol a champion,
Well, Donny, looking forward, I know you didn't see this fight, but let's have a look at his future moves. Assuming, as we are, that Bivol's going to stay at light heavyweight. He's the WBA champion. He has one of their belts. You've got the WBC champion, who's Alexander Gvozdyk. Actually, he knocked out Adonis Stevenson. He's defending against the mighty Dudu Ngumbu next, so we can rule him out. Marcus Brown, interestingly enough, remember that name, is number one contender with the WBC. Don't quite know how Igor Machalkin has made his way up to number two, but forget that, Donny. That's tangential information. The IBF is an absolute mess. Artur Beterbiev has more fights outside of the ring than in at the moment. There's no ratings at 1 and 2. The top 10 is an absolute shitfest. WBO is Kovalev. He wants to fight Bivol. Anthony Yard is his mandatory or number one contender as far as we're aware. What about this, Donny? Dimitri Bivol against the man who conquered Badu Jack last, Marcus Brown. He's fast, he can punch, he showed a lot of bollocks against Badu Jack, and he's a southpaw. I think he would present the correct amount of stylistic problems to really show us another dimension to Bivol.
Yeah, I mean, I was really high on Marcus Brown for a long time.
Don't mention that 2016 fight, is that against the unpronounceable?
Wait, which one?
Everybody always says, I was high on Marcus Brown until he fought, and nobody can pronounce the guy's name, and I can't remember what it was.
Kaladivic or Kaladijic.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And then he basically got a gift decision. But he has improved since then. I'd be fine with that or whatever. I mean, if I'm Kovalev, I'm thinking he needs to get the revenge fight from the amateurs against... what was the gentleman you just said? The Russian?
Beterbiev.
Yeah, he needs to fight Beterbiev or whatever, and then the winner of that should fight Bivol. But I mean, like, that's honestly, if they put that fight in Russia, between Kovalev and Beterbiev, I mean, that's a huge fight. Because those guys have been rivals since they were kids. They're basically like the Khan and Brook of Russia. You know what I mean? And I think that needs to happen. And then once that happens, and that's a big money fight, then the rest of the division can be opened up. But I think that needs to happen first.
Ozzy, I'm not sure where you see Bivol going next. One thing I did like from Joe Smith Jr., he knew he wasn't going to win the boxing match, so whenever he picked up Bivol in the 9th round and did some kind of wrestling slam on, I thought that was quite an impressive manoeuvre.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Andy. I'd like to see him drop down to 168. Look, he's clearly handling these guys with relative ease, isn't he? I mean, but I think he looks small. He's quite slender, and he's a small guy. He's not massive. So I mean, I think 168 is an area for him from where he'll be a lot more effective as well. Like I said, I thought he'd get Pascal out of there. He didn't. But he's built. Look, he's active. I'm impressed. I like him. I really like him for Smith Jr. Like you said, I think he knew he wasn't going to do that. Tried to do it all. everything else he could do, and it was to no effect really. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Bivol does next. I mean, he's with DAZN now, and I mean Eddie Hurton loves talking about money and offers, so there's no reason why he can't be looking to, like make bouts, for the to unify the titles. Otherwise, I don't really see where else. I think they'll try and line up a Callum Smith fight, whether that be Callum Smith coming up to light heavyweight or Bivol going down to 168. I think that'll be a good fight. I mean, I don't really know what Callum Smith's doing at the moment. He's, like I said, he's won it. He's won because he beat George Groves, and he's just faded away again. No one's got a clue what he's doing. There's no talk of him or anything like that. So I think a Bivol fight with that down the line should happen, like I said, promotionally wise. And like I say, he'll either drop down to 168 or try and unify the belts up at light heavy. So I think it's just a waiting game. But I think it was Andy mentioned again, it's always going to be a problem with the numerous TV channels involved at the moment, and it'll just be a case of either they work together or it'll be a battle of the deepest pockets.
One person who's done himself no harm, Aussie, at 175 is Callum Johnson. He gave a good enough account of himself against Artur Beterbiev beforehand to get another chance. Went in against Shawnee Monaghan. We all know what Monaghan is. He's been built up. He sells 1,000 to 1,500 tickets in that sort of New York scene, and he got bought out against Callum Johnson. I didn't think he'd get rid of him this quickly, but I did fancy Callum Johnson to get the knockout win and a third round knockout against Shawnee Monaghan. It hasn't done him any harm whatsoever.
No, it was good. I completely expected it, to be honest. We know Johnson can punch, and he's got ability as well. This guy's won medals at the Commonwealth Games. It's just as a pro, he's been starved of action, struggled, in the ring, injury wise sometimes, and out of it as well with promotional deals, etc., things like that. And it's just a case of, now if you look since. He's had 3 fights in 2018. He's had 8 rounds from it. So I think he's talking about, going basically straight back up to world level again. He said openly he'd take the Beterbiev rematch. I think he could do with someone who, could just give him 10 or 12 hard rounds. But, I think that would benefit him long term. As for Monaghan, look, they were looking at Monaghan as an opponent for Anthony Yard, and Monaghan priced himself out. He agreed a person, then stuck like another $45,000 on top of it. So, look, people are reserved about what they think about Anthony Yard, and I believe Yard would have absolutely destroyed Monaghan as well. So for Callum Johnson, it wasn't a shock, and he did it in impressive fashion. Right from the first bell, he bullied him. He dropped him twice in the. I can't remember now. I'm thinking I watched it this morning, but yeah, he looked good. Callum Johnson, like I said, looks like he's going to stay out in America as well in terms of his fights. I think that's where the action is for him. I can't see him putting him in, with like a Buatsi or something like that. Maybe look at the European title and then jump back up to world level if he can win that belt.
Andy, further action on the undercard. Sergei Kuzmin got a win over my man. Joey Deveco didn't get a chance to see it, but I will be seeking this one out. Also, Israel Madrimov, 1-0, super welterweight, knocking out Frank Rojas. I have my reservations about Rojas, Andy. I remember him being brought in against Jose Benavidez. Possibly Benavidez was 26-0. Rojas was 23-0, something like that. It looked like a real even pick'em fight. It was on a big undercard, a Terence Crawford undercard, and Rojas just capitulated in a round, and he was the embodiment of the built-up shit record. Yeah. So that is why they've put him in against this guy. Was he making his debut? Was this his second fight,
Debut, mate. Plus, it was a title as well. It was a second fight, so it was a title of some sort as well. So clearly getting pushed, but clearly a big talent. 24-year-old. I was thinking about this when I was watching it last night. Actually, as how we've had the Ukraine revolution, so to speak. We've had Usyk, Lomachenko, Gvozdyk coming through.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's coming to an end.
They're coming, Andy. Who's coming? Come on.
Yeah, the Uzbeks are coming now.
The Uzbeks are coming.
Yeah, if you look at it, actually, I think it's from every division, probably from bantamweight up to heavyweight. Actually, the Uzbeks have all got at least between 1 and 2 top like ex-amateurs who are like starting to make a name for themselves in the pros. Obviously this kid's coming through as well. The other one that I've been obviously keeping my eye on as well, and Steve, I'm surprised you've never even thought about this guy yet, but do you remember the name Muradon Akamadalev? He fought
Easy
Michael
for you to
Conlon.
stay under.
He fought Michael Conlon in the World Amateur Finals, and
Oh, right, yes.
Conlon beat him, but he got dropped heavily in the last round of this guy. He's all action. He's like something like 5-0, 6-0 as a
What
pro.
weight's he up at in pros, though?
He's bantamweight, mate.
Bantamweight, right, okay.
He's definitely bantamweight. I'm sure. I think he's definitely bantamweight, or like, he's super bantamweight anyway. So, again, another one who's fought some of the best at world level in the amateurs, Olympics and stuff, and obviously he's campaigned with WSB experience. So a couple of Uzbeks here to keep an eye on. I think they're going to be taking over. As I say, Lomachenko and Usyk now are like just over 30 now, so that era's starting to kind of peter out. And you've got these guys coming in here now, like mid-20s, late 20s and stuff, all ready to take over. So keep an eye on the Uzbek scene. It's going to be kind of happening over the next 2 to 3 years, I think, when we see some pushes with these guys. But certainly the guy that Madriov fought there last night was an absolute, I would say, a bum, because he's never fought anybody. If you look at it,
No.
the absolute definition of a padded record. But if you get bums like that, I mean, it wasn't too, back in the day, you had fighters like that before BoxRec. You need to rely on people's contacts. They got all copies of Ring magazine books and that, try and get people's records, and it was like totally padded. But if you're going to fight a padded fighter with like a shit record, that's how you deal with them. That's how you handle it. That's how you take care of business, and that's how that's probably going to be. That's definitely going to be the top 10 knockouts of the year. That one's.
Other great Uzbek fighters, Andy, do you remember Muhammad Abdullayev, who beat Miguel Cotto in the 96 Olympics, and Cotto then knocked him out as a pro on the way up, Mr. Abdullayev?
I do remember. I remember the pro fight.
Yeah, I didn't remember the Olympics either. He went on to fight Andreas Kotelnik, Joshua O'Kine, there's a name from the past, he beat him as well. Philip Holiday, he fought Emmanuel Clottey. What about...
the year Kotelnik won silver?
Yeah.
I thought that.
Isn't it Islam or Islam? There's another. Is he Uzbek as well?
What weight are we talking about?
I want to say welterweight, but I'm not sure. I actually cut a video of him and put it up on our Facebook page, and I can't remember.
Is this the one that fights in Singapore or Malaysia?
Yeah,
or
he's fought in Australia as well at some point. He's around that sort of area. Yeah, that's right.
He's been on the road quite a fair bit. I think he's been in Singapore, Malaysia, Russia. I think he's fighting in America sometime soon as well.
He's not in fight news, but he must have some kind of a fringe title by now, you would have thought. I don't see him though.
Well, he fought that Laszlo Toth, that Hungarian journeyman and stuff, but I think he's got some sort of the BBC title. If you look at the rankings, that you would probably suggest he's maybe kind of high up in one of them.
Yeah, I want to find out who this is now. Laszlo Toth. Let's have a look. We'll just do this live on air, shall we? Why not?
I've got his details here. It's Kudratelio Abdu Kakahorov. Is that the one you're talking about? The Punisher?
No, that's a different one though. No.
All right.
Somebody Islam, I'm sure you call him, or Islamov or something.
Oh, is this? Oh, wait a minute. I think I know the one you're talking about. It's Kana Islam.
Yeah, him. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Is he not Kazakhstan? I think he's Kazakhstani. That one.
Oh, there you go. Took us down a path for no reason there, Andy. Sorry about that. Kara Islam. Yeah, he's the one I'm trying to think of. Yeah, forget about it. Sorry. Anyway, enough of that. So he's one to look out for anyway. This guy Madrazov. Oh, Happy Mob Kelly getting stuck in there. Go on, Rob.
No, I was going to say, I was speaking to some of the lads on the Irish amateur team a couple of years back, and they'd been to Uzbekistan to box, and they said the standard over there was absolutely unbelievable. And the judging was great as well, apparently. But no, some real talent coming out of there. I'm assuming you covered my main man, Showtype Sean, have you?
Well, you know what, we have, but I was meaning to come to you anyway, so go ahead.
Well, I'm a big fan of Showtype Sean Porter, as you know. He has to be my least favourite welterweight champion of all time. I was thinking about it. I hate being so disparaging on certain fighters because I know what it takes, like, to try and make weight or whatever, or to trade to get in shape and to get to the top level. So somehow Sean Porter has managed to become a 2-time world champion. I always hate his marauding style, but he changed his style before the weigh-in and during the fight last night. So he had his hair cut to make weight. And then he decided to box on the outside. Now, as bad as I think he is coming forward, he's even worse on the outside. And that fight was a joke. An absolute joke. I mean, I know that's not a high-profile fight. It's one for the purist, like Ugas. Man like Ugas. Uh, is that his name? Ugas. Ugas was good. The Cuban, he's a big guy at the weight, and even Porter, who had struggled at the weight, couldn't do anything with the size of this guy. So I understand the strategy. It's boxing on the outside. He's just not able to do it. And I think Jack Reese is an excellent referee. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt over his foot slipping out from under him, but it did seem very much in conjunction with a right hand over the top. So I've seen him given as knockdowns, and I don't think Porter was complaining that it was a slip. I think he felt like he'd been knocked down. So maybe a mistake from Reese, a rare mistake from Jack Reese. But yeah, I would have given Ugas the fight maybe by at least 3 rounds, I would have thought. But fucking Ray Boom Boom Mancini didn't really think him and Kate Addo were giving all the insights alongside Keith Thurman. They were really giving it a thorough breakdown. You think this is bad? Do you want to see fucking Ray Boom Boom Mancini try to commentate or give his analysis? Gets all excited, starts shadowboxing in the seat and everything. And that was probably more exciting than Showtime Sean Porter's performance. So I was wishing to fuck he was going to lose that title on the scales. We just get rid of him, and that he has to move up to 154 pounds so Jared Hurd can give him a severe beating while Kenny watches. But he's hanging in there. I'm assuming we're going to get a rematch, are we, or no?
No, we hope not. Sean doesn't want it, and we think he's going to move on and unify.
So he's looking for Thurman next, the rematch against Thurman.
No, he's what Spence, apparently.
Ben.
He wants Spence, right? Okay, well, like, Spence on the basis of that last night. Well, fuck Garcia. But if like Spence on the basis of that last night, I think Spence fucking thoroughly break him down. Like fucking, I always thought he'd knock Sean Porter. I really do think he'd knock him out based on that performance. So if I was him, I'd be looking for the Thurman rematch. But maybe he doesn't think he can win that one either. But as soon as he fucking is dethroned and he can fuck off, so I don't have to watch him, the better.
Take your cut hair and fuck off. That's what Rob Kelly says. Here, Rob, you probably think I'm some kind of weirdo with my Rob Brandt fetish, but I actually quite like GTA Maurice Hooker now. I'm becoming a bit of a fan.
Oh, I've been on the Maurice hype train since the Terry Flanagan fight. Like, nothing like a good Mark Breland-esque frame and an 80s haircut, along with some sequin shorts to get me on board. Brilliant knockout to follow it up. And I didn't actually catch the result from last night because the little one was sick, so I've only actually seen the Porter fight and the Bivol fight, so I didn't even catch the results. So I'm assuming Maurice did the business.
He won on points against Mikel Lespierre, knocked him down a couple of times. I don't think Lespierre was as bad as I expected, technically speaking. He looked a bit like, say, if Austin Trout had retired and then he came back in 10 years' time. That's what Lespierre looked like.
It's fair enough. Sounds like you give most people a fight, to be honest with you. No, I like Maurice Hooker. I don't know if he's like an elite fighter, but he's definitely a worthy world champion, and he's always exciting to watch. Like, isn't he? I thought he boxed really, really well against Flanagan. I was delighted he got the result that night because I was expecting him to get jobbed, but he's kind of taken his opportunity with both hands and ran with it. Like, go Maurice.
Go Maurice, indeed. Him and his trainer, Vincent Parra, seem to have quite an interesting, close relationship. A lot of hugging going on there. Maybe that's the type of loving that has landed Hooker with 12 kids or so, Andy. What happened in the 5th round?
Is it as strange as Kenny Porter staring lovingly into Sean's eyes last night as he held his 2 arms aloft to say,
Connor and Nigel.
I know you lost this fight, but I'm going to kiss the face off you to make it all better.
Andy, what happened in the 5th round? I only watched it once. I didn't see the replays. It seemed like the mouthpiece came out, and then Hooker scored what looked like a legitimate knockdown to me, but the referee just ignored it, picked up the mouthpiece, and then just went back to action again.
Yeah, I found that weird, actually. But to be honest, we said this last week, didn't know much about this guy coming in, did we? I think he did. You don't get an official knockdown eventually called in that fight.
Yeah, there was at least one by body shots, but that uncalled knockdown was a bit. But Hooker didn't seem to dispute it either.
No, I know. But at the end of the day, I mean, that fight, I kind of had a fleeting eye on it and stuff. But that was at Lespierre's and that. He had a go at times, shall we say, but there was a lot of kind of inactivity for him, whereas Hooker was just kind of happy to go on the jab and kind of keep the straight shots, a few body shots going and stuff. But I suppose to kind of keep him active and that. But what do you see for him next? I mean, I didn't really kind of see what the big deal is now, honestly.
Well, wasn't Jack Catchwell at ringside, so I expect he's going to get put in. If you put a much better version of Lespierre in against Hooker, I would probably back Catchwell to beat him, Andy.
Maybe. Thing with Jack, though, Jack kind of flatter to deceive, in my opinion, sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the one
turns
thing.
off. Yeah.
Saying that though, is if it's it's a bigger fight, this title on the line, it might be the making him. It might be like the fight that he needs.
What about a homeboy that knocked out Linares last? What was his surname again?
Cano, was it? Yeah.
The guy that he just knocked.
Was it Cano that knocked him out?
Cano. Yeah. I think that'd be a good test for him.
Yeah. I think Catchwell might be coming in. I'm not sure if it is mandatory or not. Maybe Ozzy would know. I'll tell you something though, Ozzy. I'm probably holding wasn't it the Perez fight? Whenever Hooker came in as a decent prospect on HBO and he looked like absolute shit and he fought to a draw against Perez. And maybe we wrote him off at that point, and all Maurice Hooker needed to do was just mature a bit, Ozzy, find his level, and he's done that now. I might be guilty of writing GTA off too soon.
From memory, I thought he lost the fight against Perez as well. I thought it was a bad decision on the cards from that. I think anyway. I can't. That's just from memory. No, he's okay. I mean, last night's opponent wasn't great. It was a typical first defense, wasn't it? I mean, the guy was clearly out of his depth. I think he barely won a round, didn't he? I think he had a couple of close ones without really panicking Hooker. I think the concerning thing for Hooker is how long it took him to make the weight. I think he had to weigh in 4 times or something like that. Now, he's not the smallest at 140, quite tall as well, so you don't know how much making the weight took out of him. In terms of the mandatory situation, I think Jack's in the top 3 with the WBO, but they've not ordered anything yet. Obviously, the Saucedo fight was I think that was the mandatory. So
yeah, he'd been walked up into the mandatory. Saucedo again had an inflated record, but that was actually a pretty decent fight if you've seen it.
It was, yeah, that was good, yeah. So in terms of a mandatory, I don't know when they'll call that. They're not like the IBF when they do it every 12 months. I think it's every 18 months or something like that.
Oh, God, so, Catchwell could be left waiting for ages.
Well, yeah, no, but he knows himself that he can't just sit around and wait for that opportunity. I mean, they might not call it for a while now. You don't know, but Frank's got a decent relationship with the WBO, and I'm sure something will be worked out. Like I said, he went out there yesterday for the fight to take a look at Hooker in more detail. He clearly fancies it. Spoke to him myself. He's a big believer that he will do a job on Maurice Hooker. And like Andy said, it may be the fight that really gets like the fire burning, and you can raise it another level from what you've shown previously. So it's going to be interesting. They've on about Hooker's having a homecoming in Dallas in, I think, 3 months' time. So I don't know who they got. I can't see that being Catterall then. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of opponent they'll pull in. I suspect it'll be of somebody of a similar level.
It'll be a bomb, and good luck to him as well. I think he deserves a fight at home.
Oh, yeah, nothing against that. But sometimes, I mean, it's all right keeping him active, but if they're just going to stick him in with, like below par opponents, you think kind of sometimes what's the point? Particularly when you're at the top level. I don't mind, if you're developing and you're coming through. Look, he's a world champion now. He doesn't need, to be taking on these garbage defences.
Got to feed them kids, Ozzy.
Well, like I said,
I think he has about 10 and counting, doesn't he?
I haven't got a fucking clue what he's up to, but like I said, his weight is massively tied up as well with the World Boxing Super Series. So there's nothing that stands out, in terms of a unification situation as well. So I don't know where they're going to go with him next, but I expect the Catterall fight to happen in the next 12 months, whether that be in America or in the UK. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, they might bring him over to the UK for that one. A shout out to former guest of the pod, Brad Foster. He was on a few weeks ago talking about his fight for the British Super Bantamweight title against Josh Whale in Wales' hometown or home region, Barnsley. Well done, Brad. He done the job. He didn't have to do it. I haven't seen any footage of it, but the scores of 119, 111, 117, 111, and 117 to 112 in Brad's favour on away turf for the vacant title shows he must have gone out there and put in a really sterling performance. Hard luck to another friend of the pod, another former guest, Nina Bradley, who lost widely for a WBC fringe women's title. She was knocked out. Oh, hang on. It says here the scores. What's going on here? There seems to be scores on BoxRec, but there's also a knockout time. Well, she lost anyway against Terry Harper.
What
Either
happened
way.
to Saul Farah? Do you know what happened to him yet?
No, we're not sure, Andy. We don't actually know. He could have got himself on that Boston card tonight. What, a 6th heavyweight fight, maybe as an opponent for Malik Scott.
Could have fucking done better than Amir Mansour there did last night.
He could have done. Ozzy, you've unmuted yourself there. I was just getting a bit confused. They've put up the scores at the time of the stoppage, I'm assuming.
Oh, I thought she lost on points, Nina Bradley.
Oh, well, there you go. Then there's scores on, you see. Oh, no, she must have done. 90, 79, 89. No, she must have got stopped. She's got stopped.
Right.
She's got stopped, and they've put the scores up at the time of the stoppage.
Yeah, they've done that before. If the cards get revealed and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't really. I thought she lost on points, but she got stopped in the 10th against Terry Harper. Yeah. No, what was I going to say? I've actually sent Saul Farah a message on Facebook.
Oh.
So I'm trying to find out. I'm eager to know the boxer promoter, matchmaker, and referee whether he claimed that Bolivian heavyweight title. So he's obviously got a win over the opponent previously in January. The last status he uploaded saying that he lost 40 pounds or something like that. So he was clearly taking it serious. He was getting into good shape. And I'm just trying to find out whether he was successful or not.
I wonder are they Bolivian pounds?
He lost 3 kilos before the weigh-in.
before we know it, we'll be sending all the Patreon down to Bolivia.
He had to cut 10 pounds nice and easy.
Nice and easy, baby.
We don't know, Andy. We'll try and find out. I don't think he speaks very good English, to be honest.
He never responded to me anyway, and I was oddly enough, it was halfway during the weekend. I said, I better go and check this out, and still nothing. So, anybody checked out while we're talking there to see if anything's come through yet? Still nothing.
No,
I've just checked now, and there's nothing. It's still just on BoxRec. There's no result at the moment.
You better check the political situation just in case he's been sold into sexual slavery or something like that.
Hey, mate, maybe the Americans have invaded.
We'll have to start
everywhere else.
We'll have to start enticing him with some talk of losing some pounds over on this side of the Atlantic. Maybe that will spark his interest.
Let's bring him over. Before we go on to this Friday night card, Rob, we've had a question coming over on Patreon. Speaking of that, D-Dog has asked a question for you in particular, Rob. He said, Paul Williams at 147 versus Thurman, Porter, Brook or Cotto. Paul Williams at 147, Brook, Porter, Thurman, Cotto.
Oh, Paul Williams was very good. I think he beats Brook. Not sure about Cotto. Prime Cotto, that is. Who's the others? Thurman, I think he beats.
I've deleted it. Who else did I say? Porter, Thurman, Cotto and Brook.
Oh, Porter, Thurman, he beats the two of them easy. Brook gives him a tougher fight, but I think at 47, he's just so tall, so difficult to deal with. I think he probably beat Brook. Hard to know because we didn't see Brook under the lights enough, in my opinion. And Cotto, I don't know.
Okay, Donny, I'm really afraid that I'm going to lose you, so I need to hit you with a big question, try and entice you just to keep you around. Tell me about this next Friday night card. We are going to go on to the last Friday night's card, so don't worry, everybody. But I want to hear your opinion, Donny, just in case we lose you. Philadelphia, Tevin Farmer, John O'Carroll, Katie Taylor's on the card as well. Gabe Rosado against Maciek, Selecki. It's pretty much standard DAZN fare. Farmer Carroll in particular, Donny.
To be honest with you, actually, I wish you didn't ask me that question.
Okay, off you go. Next one.
No. I know, but I just I'm not as educated on that fight as I should be. I've been very busy for the last couple of months, as you know. But I mean, I am a believer in Tevin Farmer. I was very glad that he got that rematch against what was it, Dib?
No, what happened was he fought Kenichi Ogawa, got robbed. Ogawa's tested positive, and then he fought Dib for the vacant.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, he got robbed. He won that fight. I mean, he's another guy who's learned on the job. He has a lot of losses on his record, but he's a good fighter. But the only thing is that I don't know that much about his opponent, I'm sorry to say. So I'll have to pass on that one, but I'm sure Andy could give you a good analysis of that one. I apologize. And I actually will be on for the rest of the pod, I think.
Oh, right. I was afraid we were going to lose you. That's okay. No, you stick around then, Donny. I wouldn't have hit you otherwise. Okay, Andy, tell me about the Friday night card in the Royal Albert Hall. Boxing is back. in the Royal Albert Hall. I'm sure you was delighted to hear this as I was. Liam Williams getting a knockout win over a friend of the pod, Joe Mullinder. Johnny Garton losing to Chris Jenkins. Anthony Yard knocking out Travis Reeves. Daniel Dubois done a right good job on Razvan Kajanu. What was the Archie Sharp fight seems to have fallen off, and Lucian Reed got a draw. It was pretty decent Friday night fare. Once I realised it was Friday night, Anzi, I thought it was Saturday night until people started popping through Bellew of the Week notifications to me.
I actually forgot. Did I even show that? Was that a Italian card on Sky on Friday night as well?
Oh no, I've got something to come about that as well.
Yeah,
I don't think Sky actually showed it, did they?
Thank God for that.
But we had a listener who was there, and he's giving me a little lowdown, which I'll read out in a minute.
All right, no problem. Yeah, well, again, last week I said I did think Melander would have got stopped. I didn't think he would have got stopped so early, actually, but it was pretty brutal in the end, and I don't think he should be allowed to go on after the first knockdown. Saying that, though, I'll just repeat what I said last week, that I just fully believe this move up in weight for Liam Williams has been like the making of him. He's just like, he looks like a new fighter. So, you know, continue at that level, win the title outright, then maybe go to European level. There's no need to try and kind of push the guy right up into world honours at the minute. Anthony Yard, I says to you guys off air that I wasn't too impressed, shall we say. Okay, he's beat up a guy who is essentially divisionless. He's basically a journeyman, right? He doesn't fight in one division. He's been fighting at cruiserweight, light heavyweight, and all that sort of stuff. He is like pushing 40, and here he is. He's not even ranked, and he's got a chance to fight for some sort of WBO trinket, right? Yard basically kind of did what he wanted to do with him on Friday night. Played with him basically, but at the same time when he did play with him, he was doing the Philly shell, and he's still taking punches. That's fucking stupid, right? He's heavy in his feet. He's poor on his feet. His balance looks awful. He's still far too top heavy. He relies too much on the power. I don't think he pushes combinations together pretty well. I just think he's a fighter who, if he tags you, you feel it. And if he catches you well good, you're going to fucking go down, which is good enough. But when you go up to world level and people start taking that power and you can't shift them, you know, he was blown after 4 rounds there on Friday night, in my opinion. So what's he gonna be like when he goes up to like world level if he gets there and fights Kovalev? Now Kovalev might be ready to go, or it might be sort of about the chin now, but he's still an elite puncher. And you know, we've sort of seen Yardy tested against a guy who can take his punch and come back at him and give him a bit of problem. So the jury's still out, and I sound like I'm hating on the guy and stuff like that, but I've still to see this him tested. I want to see him tested. And as I say, this guy that he fought, okay, he's on the grand scheme of things, you look at his record, it's pretty decent. But again, Carol Murat stopped him, for Christ's sake. Right? Fucking Nathan Cleverly knocked him out in 10 rounds. Other than that, there's 0 other people on his record that's worth a fuck. So let's dispense with the nonsense here. Okay, he was a stepping opponent for, I forget the guy's name at the minute. Who was the guy? Yeah, okay, that was a fight we kind of hoped for a decent fight. But this guy offered absolutely nothing. So again, Yardy's back at square one, and I said last week, and it was said last week as well. People were starting to kind of question his opposition, and he's standing at the minute. The question marks still remain. Okay, it's okay smashing out these guys, but that guy was a nobody. So we need to see him stepped up. And if he's wanting to fight Kovalev next, please do it. Because I'll tell you one thing, but I think we're going to see, regardless if Kovalev is on the slide or not, right? There is levels. We all know this. But Kovalev has mixed it with fucking very, top, the elite levels at light heavyweight. We'll mention Ward for prime examples. We'll put Chilemba in there, obviously. But he's mixed with these guys. Yardy's never fucking fought in these guys. And what chances, you've got to think, experience-wise, power-wise, Kovalev has got to beat the Yardy. As I say, the Philly shell, hiding behind the shoulder and stuff like that, it doesn't work for him. He's no Floyd Mayweather. He can't move the top half of his body. He's not got the foot movement, so he's going to get tagged. So just stop it and get a decent trainer and get back to the basics.
Ozzy, Mullinder obviously got knocked out quite brutally by Liam Williams. But talking about Yard, we spoke earlier about this particular situation. We believe that they're building him as best as they can, as tentatively as they can, against reasonable opposition to maintain his ranking and eventually throw him in a sink or swim before he gets picked off beforehand against someone like a Kovalev and hope he pulls it off or at least gives a good account of himself.
I don't think people would mind him having the learning fights if he wasn't so highly ranked by the WBO and essentially can be called on for a mandatory. He's obviously turned down a fight with Beterbiev. I've nothing against that whatsoever. He was going abroad. He's built himself, like what record he's got. And it was essentially, they just went down the rankings. And about 9 other fighters turned the fight down as well. The Median Marv fight was perfect. It was a decent enough opponent. It would have shown us where Yard was about, and unfortunately that fell through. I would like to see them revisit that fight again. I thought he boxed okay on Friday. Picked his shots reasonably well, but he's manhandling people that he should be, being brutally honest. Frank Warren can talk about, this is his best opponent today. Bullshit. His best opponent today was Nicolas Sejloka, who drew for the European title the fight before. He's not boxed anybody better than that. And like I said, when he beat Sejloka in the way he did, people were impressed, and you thought, right, they're gonna take the stabilizers off now, and they're gonna, gradually step up the opponents, and it's been the complete opposite. It's just poor rubbish. I don't know where they're going to go next. They'll probably pick another opponent from obscurity again. I would like to see them revisit Amar, get him back over. Look, it was agreed the first time. The same terms will work again. Perhaps Akaro Murat, I think, could be a more than reasonable opponent as well. I think if they're expecting him to go in with Kovalev next, it's not going to end well. It isn't going to end well unless Yard can demonstrate something that we have not seen before. Which is unlikely, but it's not unheard of. But in this instance, I can't see it. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be he's perfect in a sense. Look, he looks good. He can punch hard. He's your perfect poster boy. But there's only so. I mean, people are pissed off with him already. People get sick of it because when Anthony Yard's fighting, the opponent isn't credible. So I think now it's a case of Mediamar or someone of that level or above.
What about Joe Smith Jr.? I mean, he beat Bernard Hopkins.
Just going to say that, but Hopkins is washed. But I know what you're saying. He's a tough, durable guy. Might take him at 12 rounds.
That gets him basically into, I think, what like we all said earlier. Joe Smith Jr. is he's a gatekeeper. So let's have Yard crash the gate.
No, the way this works, they'll probably put him against Fonfara.
I would accept that. Yeah, more. I mean, people.
Mohamed Kawi probably.
Just loads of opponents. I mean, who's the champion, European champion? Is it Bozel?
Yeah, Bozel. He's defending it. Just because when we were talking about it, I was actually checking some of the rankings and that. But Bozel's fighting some sort of Albanian-based Italian or Italian-based Albanian next month for European title.
The European title, yeah. So. There's opponents out there which people will accept and are more than credible. I think it's a case of now they need to be used. I mean, you see this Tunde Ajayi in the video. I don't like the way he comes across. I think he's a bit of a snob, to be honest, and he looks down on people who question like Yard's career, etc. And I think people are more than well within the rights to ask that. And I've got to admit, I don't blame the promoter on this instance. I think it's coming from Team Yard on the choice of opponents because, look, Frank Warren's matching Daniel Dubois and he matches his other prospects reasonably well. But when it comes to Anthony Yard, they're extremely handpicked. He's not been in with a puncher yet. I think that's one blatantly, glaringly obvious thing from that. He's had different styles. Look, I mean, they made a big hoo-ha of him boxing a southpaw. Fucking wow.
By the way, just sort of kind of a non sequitur, but I really like Daniel Dubois. How long do we think it is before he mixes it up with the top names in the division?
He's only 21.
Yeah, a little while off.
He is young, but I mean, he's very talented in my opinion.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way he dealt with Kajanu. Look, because we saw Kajanu over here against Nathan Gorman on the Frampton Warrington card, and I thought Gorman ran out of ideas, to be honest. And Gorman had the assets to trouble Kajanu. Look, he can punch, he had quick hands, he can move, and quite frankly, he didn't struggle, but it wasn't a great fight. And I mean, he handled it with relative ease, but I don't think he looked good in doing it. For Dubois, I think he needed a performance like this because the last fight against Kevin Johnson, I think a lot of us were really underwhelmed, to be honest. I'm not saying he needed to, go out and blast him out of there, but he looked like a bit of a one-trick pony, just, straight right hands and going off the jab, and he looked robotic, and he didn't go.
I agree with that.
But this time round, he showed that he can vary it up. I thought the body shots to Kajani were excellent. Didn't think they were low either. There were some mentions of that, but watched it back a couple of times. I thought they were fair body shots, and he destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. And I don't see a point in rushing him unless they feel he is ready. Look, he's 21. Razvan Kajanu as an opponent for your 10th fight is decent. I don't think no one can disagree with that whatsoever, in my opinion. It's going to be interesting to see where they go next. I'd like to see him, like similar opponents to Kajanu, look at English level. I don't really see a point in putting him in with someone like Sam Sexton, to be honest, because I just think it'd be
he'd kill Sexton.
Yeah, a pretty bad ending for that. I don't know. Look, there's not massive depth, being brutally honest, over here domestically. I mean, I don't think they'd take the Hughie Fury fight. Likewise, I don't think Hughie Fury would be looking at Daniel Dubois either. So then you're obviously looking abroad then, and I mean, it's a case of, look, where do you go? You want to?
No, what would? I mean, I know it's a little bit past his league right now, but maybe what do you think Daniel Dubois would look like against Pulev or one of those guys?
That's a step too far for me.
Yeah,
it's too much. Yeah,
at the moment. Yeah, he's only had 10 fights, and his amateur career, whilst it was decorative, it wasn't in depth. Like he didn't go to the Olympics. He was on course to do that, but decided to turn over rather than go through the Olympic stage.
Like Tyson. Mm.
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you what. I think in the next 3 or 4 fights, I think someone like Christian Hammer.
MB just said that in the chat, actually. Yeah, he said Hammer.
Yeah, I missed that completely. I think maybe give him a couple more fights, and then I think someone like Christian Hammer and maybe Robert Hellenius.
Oh God!
Dare I say it? Someone like maybe a Charles Martin.
Matthew D'Souza says Molina, Stivernu, De Happers.
I don't want to see him.
Stiverne would be someone he could beat right now. I would take him that fight. Yeah,
I would take him to beat Bermenster, but I'd take Dubois to beat Joe Joyce right now as well. I'm not impressed with Joyce at all, really. I think he's too robotic and static.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not his promoter or his manager, and so I mean, I know that they're probably going to want to step him a little bit slow, but I mean, when you've got a division with Fury, Wilder, and Joshua in it, it's so exciting once you introduce a new name, and now you've got 4 guys, right? And actually, also, I think Ortiz is pretty decent too, and so you've really got 5 guys that can really mix it up.
I agree.
It's going to be so exciting when he finally does get there, because he's going to get there at a point in time when all of the other guys are still young enough so that it all matters.
You're right. You're right there, Donnie. And it's quite refreshing that there's some young talent coming through. Like I said, you've got Hrgovic, the Sauerland heavyweight. He's highly touted. You've got that F.A. Ajagba that we saw. Dubois in there. Probably throw Gorman in there at this stage as well in terms of, like prospects coming through.
Dave Allen.
We can definitely remove Dave Allen from any sort of chat like this. There is another one as well, but I can't remember if I'm missing somebody. I mean, you got people like Kuzmin, who we're going to get there and thereabouts. I'm not a massive fan of Kuzmin. But
here, Ozzy, you see the fight last night? I was checking it there. Kuzmin only won by like 1 point and 2 points against Deveco, so that shows his level, I think.
Yes, I saw that. I was quite surprised actually. I thought, what's it called? Kuzmin would have done a bit of a better job, but at the same time, I thought David Price was in the fight with Kuzmin until he gassed out and retired on the thingy. So maybe does that show what sort of level Kuzmin was at?
I think so. I think so.
But no, just touching on the rest of the card. Chris Jenkins, pleased with that one. Tipped that up on Twitter at 13-2. So a good win for Chris Jenkins. Always felt that he had the credentials to beat Johnny Garton, who's punching above his weight, really. I think when he first turned over, he was more than happy to win a Southern Area title. So to go down as a British welterweight champion is a more than credible effort. And look, a loss against Jenkins, that's by no means he needs to walk away. He can definitely come back. And he's in entertaining fights. I thought the fight was decent. Bob Williams needs to be looked at by the board. I don't get how he allowed Joe Mullen to continue after that first knockdown. I've nothing against what Liam Williams did. Look, Liam Williams is in there to do a job, and if the referee says box on, he needs to go and do and basically get Mullinder out of there.
Was he taking into account Mullinder's previous fights? You know, him going to the well.
There's levels though, isn't there? Look, you go in with lads like Lee Markham who aren't massive punchers, and you can probably take the shots full on. Liam Williams is a different gravy to people like Lee Markham, and it showed in the fight.
I wonder, is this some kind of backlash? I wondered at the time of the Wilder knockdown against Fury in the last round, where referees going to now start second guessing the counts a little bit more, because nobody would have complained if Reese had waved that off as he hit the neck, like with the 2 shots.
Yeah.
But then he got back up, and I'm wondering, is there a bit of a hangover of that?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting situation, because after James Tennyson lost to Tevin Farmer, we were talking to Arthur McCanty the next day, and he said that he stopped Tennyson because he had no chance, blah, blah, blah. And I wondered then, he said, I'm not there to take into account any of his previous fights. But then you wonder, do referees do that? Because at the end of the day, if he didn't take Arturo Gatti's previous fights into consideration, he would have been getting stopped all the time. So where's the line there, sort of?
There's argument. Well, Carl Froch got it. When George Groves was seeing off on Carl Froch in the first, I think it was round 6. I think Froch must have took about 12 or 13 huge unanswered right hands in a row. And I mean, even in the first round when he got dropped, Howard Foster didn't even look at Froch. And that was a heavy knockdown back then. So I think referees naturally will take into what's gone on in previous fights. But in this instance, I think Bob Williams got it massively, massively wrong. And fortunately, Joe Mullinder has made, like a safe recovery, and it didn't impact him and it didn't disarm him too much. Like I said, Lucian Reid, Indy sang. It was a shame that Reid was starting to box well, and then it was a clash of heads, and it left a really nasty cut over the eye of Reid. So I feel for him, because he's had a real stop-start career. And this was, it was only a 6-rounder, but it was which I didn't really get, to be honest. I thought that it should have been at least 8 rounds.
I thought a 10 would have been good for that.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And sadly, like I said, cuts have marred the thingy. If it stopped on cuts, though, I think it should go down as a no contest. I don't think, I know I also like records are for DJs, but in this instance, I don't see why, a draw should be blemished on somebody's record when a clash of heads caused it. If it was a punch, then obviously fine, nothing against that at all, and obviously it would go down as a stoppage win. But in that instance, I think that could be looked at. And then, like we say, there was a couple of prospects on there. James Branch, a young cruiserweight. Denzel Bentley, who was on the call earlier before. I think Jake Petit was on there as well. And Harvey Horn, an upcoming flyweight as well, who is calling out Sonny Edwards and a couple of the other guys down at that weight. So, yeah, the card was okay. For a Friday night, it was okay. The Archie Sharp fight fell through a few weeks ago. I meant to say last week. Sharp had a bad hand injury, I think it was, which was a shame. So he's obviously looking to get back in the mix, and I think the fight with Ballingall will definitely be rescheduled. Yeah, but all in all, an okay night's boxing in a venue which looked on telly. It looked really good. I'd like to watch a show there, actually. I think Frank will start going back there quite a bit. Seemed a good atmosphere, and like I said, it looked tremendous from the TV.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get the cut situation sorted out. I remember the WBC used to have a ridiculous cut thing. It came to light during the Michael Brody Injin Chi fight. After an accidental clash of heads that was deemed accidental, whoever was cut, the other person got deducted a point, even though it was deemed accidental. I don't know why they came up with that, but it was in action around that time. Talking of great shows, Matchroom Italy, didn't see it, but we had an insider who was actually at the show. Milan possibly took place. He said, I can't remember watching less entertaining fights outside of the women's one. Vicia Travato had an engine on her. Erica Hernandez was pretty brutal. The rest of it was shit. Dario Morello and Maxime Prodam are going absolutely nowhere. I'm just cutting off little bits and pieces here. It was quite the rant. Actually, none of the male boxers on the show could punch their way out of a paper bag. I was actually starting to have sympathy for Eddie, having to sit there thinking of ways to spin it positively. Scardinia looks the part, but he's in reality is shit. Any of the UK top 10 would surely smash him to pieces. That's Henry Kekalainen as well was on the card. The card was AIDS, as your man there would say. Women boxers were by far the highlight. That can't be right. What I don't get is what the budget was for this show. $1 billion DAZN deal, my fucking arse. I'm not sure that some of the opponents weren't homeless. Maybe 300 people in the crowd, pretty much a sold-out venue. and probably as nice a small hall crowd could be. They even managed to drag out a few stars, including Inter Milan's Raja Nayangalan. I'm convinced 90% of the crowd didn't know what they were watching. So sounds pretty good there. Over in Italy, Rob, shame you weren't there. What about Philadelphia? We asked Don.
What's the point of those cars, though? What the fuck is he doing over in Italy? Like, is he laundering money through the mob or something? What is he at? Like?
Match from Italy, he's got match from Spain coming, he's got match from Germany, and he's got match from Mexico.
When's match from Rwanda?
Match from
Rwanda, man, come on.
Match from
Rwanda. But like,
these are like strange markets for boxing for me. Like I don't want to see planning world domination like greenbacks off Danger Mouse or something. What the fuck is he doing over in Italy? Anyway,
Rob, what happens if they drag out Francesco Damiani? You'll not be laughing then, will you?
Mamma mia!
Paolo Vidos.
That's what I'd say. Mamma mia!
Eddie's trying to reconstitute the empire.
At this rate, he'll be bringing back Sandriano Mazzagrani. Fucking Jesus, man.
Get Maurice Soccer in San Andreas.
That Italian guy that fought Chris Eubank Sr.
And where's your boss, Connor?
Oh, no, don't mention him. He's belly of the week.
We get to that.
Vincenzo Nardiello.
Rocca Johnny or whatever.
But the other one that fought Robin Reed.
Vincenzo Nardiello.
Yeah, he fought Robin. He fought quite a few Brits. That guy.
Robin Reed won the WBC title off him in Italy.
Ben fought him twice, I think.
Ben stopped him. Yeah, that's right.
Who else? There was somebody else. Was it Errol Graham?
Possibly. Can't remember. Andy, Nardiello. That's right. He kept on faking injury against Robin Reed. Cappuccino kept telling him to get up. There you go. Useless information for you there, Rob. Anyway, let's get back over to Philadelphia, shall we, with Tevin Farmer, John O'Carroll.
Interesting fight. Like I thought, look, I like Jono, and I think he's got to where he's got so far, largely because of his self-belief. The way he believes in himself is something really kind of engaging when you're listening to him talk. Like some people are calling him kind of McGregor light. I've kind of noticed shades of that in him recently, especially in the build up to the Deco fight. But I thought he got a bit of a gift in the last fight, and I thought he was it was a good learning fight for him. So that's why I think this fight's come a little bit too soon for John O'Carroll. As much as I like him, and as much as he could have the potential to be a big star in the US with his style, with the way he talks, with the Irish Americans getting behind him and buying into it the same way that they did with McGregor in the UFC, then he potentially could be a big star in boxing. But it's fine margins, and Tevin Farmer is to me a much better fighter, a much more seasoned fighter, and I think he just will have the ability to take it away from Jono, and I think he might even stop him.
Maybe a cut factor.
I think Jono fights with his face a little bit sometimes, and Farmer will be good at exposing that. So I'm obviously rooting for Jono. I want him to do it, but I think it's just a step too far at this stage for him.
What about Beardgate? If you were Jono, would you come in with a big, hairy, grizzly beard?
Oh, yeah, give me something to talk about at the press conference, and then you can cut it off, and then your trainer could celebrate like Kenny Porter when they cut Sean Porter's hair.
He might be having weight issues, so the beard may have to go on the scales like the hair. So he can set.
You never know,
can't he?
You never know. I just think it'll be too much for him. But Katie Taylor's on the bill, so all is not lost.
Well, a welcome return for John Joe Nevin on the bill as well.
It's John Joe on the bill, yeah. Well,
against Andreas Figueroa.
I generally think that layoffs that long, they're not good. Like they're not. Right. It's not good for him. I think John Joe's a very talented guy, but I just think activity, lifestyle, going on the road, it just doesn't suit. I just don't see it happening.
Yo, what
in December?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say what actually happened to Nevin. I remember he was an Olympic. Was he a silver medalist?
He got his leg broken in a traveller dispute in Ireland in some part of a feud with some family member. There was rumours even that it was his dad maybe that did it to him. So after that, kind of fell asunder. He's mixing in the wrong crowds. He's not really good. Hasn't done well on the road over in the States.
He was super talented though, and then he just kind of fell
brilliant,
off the face of the earth. Yeah.
Brilliant fighter. I think he had a good deal as well there with the Caseys and the Dropkick Murphys and all that. So he had a good chance of getting some good exposure, but he didn't do well. Staying over in the States didn't suit him, and I just can't see it happening for him at this stage. I think, it's a pity because he was right there with Campbell in the Olympic final. Boxed really well in that Olympics, I thought, and just
I think he was in the same Olympics as Spence.
Beat Oscar Valdez on the way through.
That's right. Yeah, so
it's a long way back from, I think. Long way back.
Ozzy, I'm keen to get your opinions on Carol Farmer, but also a quick small hall roundup. Tommy Frank is going in against late replacement Luke Wilton for the vacant Commonwealth title next Friday night in Sheffield. That will be on TV, Free Sports. I think they're 4-2-2 on Sky, so people should be able to see that. Also, David Oliver Joyce the same night in the Bowlers Exhibition Centre. He's sort of fallen off the radar a little bit, but a very good fighter at featherweight, going in for a bauble against Stephen Tiffany, who I saw box on one of the Scotland shows. He's a decent fighter, so that could be a good fight as well.
Yeah, again, I think it's another MTK show, that, isn't it? So, fair do start. I just noticed, actually, Ben Sheedy, Jack Sellers on the undercard. That is a good fight, that, and that is one that Sellers can win. I've seen Sellers a couple of times. He boxed against Ted Cheeseman. He boxed a bloke, a journeyman who I helped out with a while ago in Leeds, and then he's had a couple of close area title fights as well. So that could be a good little fight, that as well. Steve, I was a Blackfoot. I think Lyndon Arthur's boxing next week as well. Promising light heavy. What was the other show you mentioned as well, Steve? Was it the
just your opinion on what was it? Tommy Frank, Luke Wilton, and Carol Farmer.
Tommy Frank should win. If he's got anything about him, I think Wilton is the clear case of when he stepped up, to box the higher level fly and super flyweights. He's got beat. He's got another opportunity here, probably out the blue, really, as well. So I think he's managed by who's the Mark? Is it Mark Dunlop?
No, he's managed and trained by his dad, Alan Wilton, really.
Oh, right. Is it all right?
They would be on Mark Dunlop shows and stuff, but it's quite close in the community. Like,
right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought he was managed by or promoted by Dunlop anyway. So I think Frank is Tommy Frank. Yeah, he should beat Wilton. It's one of Dennis Hobson's lads. And then obviously for the Carol Farmer fight, I think Carol will be at his depth. At the end of the day, this John O'Carroll drew with Guillaume Fremoir and arguably got beat. So I mean, I think it's a bit of a kick in the balls, really, that they fight a final eliminator. Carroll doesn't come out on top, yet still gets an opportunity for the IBF title. It's like, well, why bother with the final eliminator if, regardless of the result, draw or a no contest, he still gets an opportunity anyway?
Would they have said to Frenoir, "You'll get next chance, sorted out the money with the IBF, everybody cool"? Yeah.
Frenoir's going to box the winner of Farmer and Carroll, but you never know. If Farmer then looks to box Gervonta Davis straight after, you've got Frenoir just that sat in the cold. So I'm not really a fan of. I think this was basically agreed already, wasn't it? Carroll moving off. I don't see him troubling Farmer whatsoever, and I think he'll get him out of there. I think Farmer.
Who's Farmer's promoter?
Eddie, know any?
Lou DeBella, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay, I was gonna say because Gervonta obviously I think is with Heyman, so I just wanted to know if that was possible.
So I don't know really, but in that sense, I think it'll be too much for John O'Carroll. The Katie Taylor fight, again, not bothered. I mean, look, she's going to probably win another world title, I think, or something like that. And I just have no interest in her whatsoever. The only fight I want to see Katie Taylor in is with Chantel Cameron, because I think that'll be actually quite decent then. I think Solecki will have too much to beat Rosado. Yeah. And then there's now talk that the winner of Solecki against Rosado is going to box Demetrius Andrade in a couple of months' time. So you just think, fuck me, like they're getting him active, but against no real thing. Although Solecki gave Jacobs a decent enough fight. To be fair, I thought that was
Solecki Andrade wouldn't be too bad, but I've no interest in seeing Andrade fight against Rosado.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Fuck me.
I seen Danny Robson calling Gabe Rosado on Twitter the Gabe Keeper.
Texas Gabe.
Fucking brilliant.
It's harsh but accurate.
Fucking right it is. That's all
Gabriel Rosado. What's Rosado's record at the moment?
Well, he was one of those guys that learned on the job. He has a lot of early losses. He's better than his record, but yeah.
24-11.
24 and 11, and in his head, then he's 35 and 0 or whatever it may be. Yeah, because he never lost a fight, according to him, in a post-fight
He
press
was
conference.
also
Rosado
one of those guys. Remember, Rosado was one of those guys that tried that bare knuckle boxing.
knocked out Brian Vera.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we've got a lot of that coming up.
Vera Duckworth. Right. Ozzy, any very, very briefly, any value in Toro Nurse's fight against Echo Esserman? Is he one to watch? Maybe 9-0?
He was with Frank Warren. I don't know if he still is. I haven't seen a lot of him, but if Tyrone Nurse is up for the fight and turns up and boxes, he can beat anybody at domestic level. He's just not showing that now. It's a good competitive fight. There's no odds on it or anything like that. Shout out to Mark Leach as well, who's boxing Thomas Asomba as well on Saturday night, a Steve Wood show.
He's fighting for the British title, eh?
English.
Is it English? Aye, because he's a Cameroonian born in Sondo or Sombo, whatever his name is.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and I think he lives in like Newcastle or something like that. So no, decent fighter, Asomba. A lot better than his record suggests. Basically, he has to fight away from on the road. So he's been in with basically everybody, like domestically. He's won a Commonwealth title, but like I said, been in with Ian Butcher, Jay Harris, beat Louis Norman for the English title. So he's had a decent enough career. So I think Leach should beat him, but it'd be a tough ask. It'd be a really tough ask. Lee McGregor boxed him last time out, Andy, on the side.
Oh, was that the stoppage I was moaning about?
It was Jock Colcard, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's a good fight. That's a good little fight. I tell you what.
That's one the code was stopped on, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah.
We talk about obviously, like the boom of British boxing, but I think it's a positive to see the amount of small hole shows that are going on. Forget all the top stuff, which were relatively underwhelmed with, but I think the small hole scene is absolutely thriving at the moment. In difficult circumstances, they're always hard, like to make money on them. But fair play to people like Steve Wood, Steve Goodwin, Steffi Bull, Carl Greaves, other promoters I can't think of at the moment.
Kevin Campion.
Yeah.
Hellraiser and all them.
Yeah, exactly. Without them, the British scene wouldn't be developing, like these fighters like Mark Leach and giving them opportunities.
Mo Pryor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mo Pryor, yeah. MTK as well. They're doing a lot on the small hole scene as well. So, no, fair play to all of them because they're really keeping the boxers active. Everybody's getting opportunities now, and it's good to see people like Mark Leach getting an opportunity to top a Billy Oldham for a good title as well. It's not just a knockover thing; it's a good prestigious title, which I think any fighter when they set out would be more than happy to win.
Yep, you're listening, everybody, to episode 313 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Steve here with Rob, Andy, Ozzy and Donny. We'll be talking about Errol Spence Jr.'s fight with Mikey Garcia soon. Also, a load of Belly of the Weeks, as usual. Let's get caught up on the last couple of previews. Over in South Africa next Saturday evening, Kevin Lorena, last heard of, failing a drugs test. I think there was a hormone found or something that is usually found in pregnant women. So I'm assuming Lorena's had the baby now. He's back in action against Arta Man for the IBO title. More to the point though, Andy, over in Japan, Kosi Tanaka, Ryoichi Taguchi, Marcus Bellinger got in touch with me just before the pod was about to go live. He says Saturday's bout for the WBO flyweight title between Tanaka and Taguchi is being streamed live and for free on AsianBoxing.com. A mention on the pod would be greatly appreciated. AsianBoxing.com doing the business, Andy.
Yeah, but he's done it before. Big shout out. I forget the guy's real name actually, but thanks a lot, mate. It's really, really hard for us unless you've got say all these apps or websites with certain add-ons and stuff like that to watch these fights and that. Sometimes it can be in delayed quality and that. So major thanks to the guy. Good to see Tanaka live. It's big fight for him actually. We were talking about Taguchi and that was one of the, as I say, I was question here last week or 2 weeks ago about Inoue, about his best wins. That Taguchi came up in it. It was a very early victory for Inoue in his career. So Tanaka, it's Taguchi come up in weight, I think, to flyweight. So Tanaka's been out the weight for a wee bit. Coming off that Sho Kimura fight, which was a late contender, I suppose, for fight of the year. Really good fight. A shout out to Asian Boxing as well again for bringing us this fight. It's absolutely fantastic news. That.
Well said, Andy. I'll be watching that one, hopefully. Right, Texas AT&T Stadium, Donny, in Arlington. Get yourself down there, why don't you? Errol Spence Jr., Mikey Garcia, David Benavidez on a decent undercard fight against J. Leon Love. Chris Arreola returns. It's the big heavyweight return we've all been waiting for against Jean-Pierre Augustin. He's unbeaten. Also, Gregory Corbin, Jeremy's brother, 15-0. He's going in against Charles Martin. We've got Jesse Rodriguez, a few other fighters of interest. Luis Neri
Is a
is
fight with
pending
Jewish by any
approval.
chance, no?
Well, not sure. But Luis Neri, pending approval. Let's see if he can pass the drugs test and get on weight against McJoe Arroyo. What about the main event then? Not many people, Donny, are giving Mikey Garcia a chance. You're a learned man of boxing. Maybe like me, you might think that Garcia might have more of a chance than people perceive. What do you reckon, Donna?
Boy, I first of all, I gotta say, unlike a lot of people, I actually love this fight. A lot of people have been giving Mikey Garcia a lot of. I'm sorry, not the public, but I would say like a lot of hardcore boxing fans have been saying that this is bullshit because if Garcia loses, he can blame the weight. So basically, he has nothing to lose. But at the same time, he also has to take punches from a guy who is 2 weight classes, natural weight classes above him. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the way when Khan went against Canelo and people said, well, you're not really daring to be great because, if you lose, you could just blame the weight or whatever. But like, how did Khan end up? He ended up unconscious and we all thought he was fucking dead for like 10 seconds at least. And I mean, he's taken a big risk here and I applaud him for it. I wish, of course, that the Garcia Lomachenko fight could happen because that's the one we all really want to see, of course. But for obvious reasons, it's not just a cross promotional issue, but just the fact that Garcia and Arum hate each other so much. It's hard to see how that fight would ever happen. So once you get past that and realize that fight can't happen, can you think of another fight that you wouldn't rather like to see other than this one? I think that this is a great fight. And I don't know, what Garcia is going to look like at that weight. Will he have his speed? Will he have how much power is he going to carry up to 147? But I mean, there is no denying that he is an incredibly skilled technical boxer. He tends to usually stalk opponents or whatever. He's kind of like I'm not going to compare him to Floyd. I'm not saying he's like Floyd, but I mean, in the way that he approaches fights, sometimes he gives away a round or two early on, and then he figures people out. Crawford is kind of the same way as that too. But I mean, he's very, very skilled, and I also have to wonder how much time does Spence have left at 147 because he's huge for the weight. He really seems like he boils down all the way to make that weight. Is this the fight where? Maybe he's running out on his borrowed time at the weight, and maybe Garcia will have a chance against him because of that. Will Spence slow down late, perhaps? I don't know, but I certainly don't see Mikey Garcia getting knocked out or anything like that. I think this one goes to the cards. I mean, obviously the smart money's on Spence. He's going to use his length and height and reach to frustrate Garcia, I think, but Garcia is very smart, and I think this is going to be I think it's going to be a close fight. I really do, and I think Spence will edge him out, just because of the physical attributes and everything like that. And at the end of it, I don't think that anybody comes away from this a loser. We always, in especially hardcore boxing fans, we always, basically engage in hagiography when we talk about guys like Henry Armstrong, who used to climb up weight classes and dominate people who are much larger than him.
When you had to beat the man.
Yeah, and that's what Garcia
8 titles as well.
Yeah, and pardon?
That's when there was only 8 titles on the line as well.
Yeah, and we love that, and if you love that, well then how could you not love this? So I'm excited for it, and I'm actually moving right now. I'm moving into a new house or whatever, and I'm making sure that my new television situation is geared up so that I can watch this one because I'm very excited for it. And yeah, this is I think this is probably the fight this year that I'm most excited about thus far.
Comments in the chat, Covert Operative says Mikey Garcia has absolutely no chance. Mikey is one of the most overrated fighters in the past 20 years.
Wait,
Jason
who said
Chuckwood,
that person should be shot. All right,
Covert Operative, so you won't be able to find him very easily.
Mikey Garcia is a fucking great fighter. I mean, like he's incredibly skilled. I mean, it's so funny because he actually had a perfectly good career. He could have been a police officer, and police officers in the United States are actually paid pretty well. They got pensions, whatever. He could have had that, but he almost took up boxing just because he'd been around it so long that, he was like, well, what the hell? I might as well take. I mean, he has been bred for this. He, grew up basically ever since he was in about 5-6 years old. He grew up in the gym. And the way that he figures out fighters and just ultimately knocks them out. If you look at his knockout ratio, you would think he was like some big, knockout artist, but he's not. A lot of his knockouts come in the late rounds or whatever because he basically just breaks people down systematically, and he ultimately finishes them off and seals their fate. He's not a huge puncher, but he's very, very good at breaking guys down and just systematically taking them out. I think he's tremendous, and anybody that says he's overrated is crazy.
Yeah, more chat opinions. Editing King, he said Hart, Garcia, Head, Spence. Intrigued to know what Garcia has seen in Spence. Good point to think he has the beating of him. Jason Chukwu says Garcia technically is the better fighter. Telephone in by Robert Garcia, round 7, says hi, God Plodder. Dave Trick says, does Spence stop Broner? Nothing for something. Spence is a very good fighter and he's bigger. Spence with a body shot, Mark Pritchard. Spence is more overrated than Garcia, says Boom. And Spence Jr. by 9 says, take that, Tiger. Take that, Rob Kelly. What do you think about the whole thing? Taylor the Trainers, Derek James says, whatever Garcia brings, we'll have the answer. He's completely ready. But Robert Garcia, meanwhile, talking about the size, he says Mikey has been sparring and handling bigger men in training, so he doesn't think the size will be an issue. He would say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting fight for me. Really interesting fight. I think Donnie's kind of summed it up perfectly. If you can't have Crawford versus Garcia, you can't have Lomachenko versus Garcia, then who else would you want to see him fight? We've been kind of saying that since he came back off his hiatus from contractual disputes, that he was, I don't know, a little bit lazy with the opponents, where he's beating guys that you'd expect him to beat comfortably, and he's not. He's looking okay doing it, but not spectacular. I think he would beat Lomachenko on size. I think he's definitely capable of beating Lomachenko. Rather, I wouldn't say it's a straightforward victory for anyone, but I think just on size alone, when I saw Linares having some success with him, I think Mikey Garcia, young in his prime, naturally bigger, an absolute sharpshooter, technician, will give Lomachenko big problems. And for that reason, I think he gives Spence problems too. I don't think, but there's a couple of things that are just making me edge towards Spence. It's well and good talking about Henry Armstrong. He didn't have to contend with guys that are on supplements. And Garcia, there's an interesting factor in this fight because there's obviously, I'm not going to beat around the bush. People have been raising question marks about Spence since before he was world champion. And Victor Conte is behind the nutrition program for Mikey Garcia, who's obviously on the clean side now, but knows his way around loopholes and what's acceptable and what isn't. So that's a factor. Mikey Garcia said very early in his career that he wouldn't go to 47. I remember a journalist, it might have been Sekback or one of them, pushing him at the time he was dominating 35, talking about going up to 47, and he stopped him and said that he never said that he'd go to 47. So I don't know. He's obviously seen something in Spence. Crawford's been adamant as well that he's seen something in Spence that he could expose. Heard Thurman speaking about it as well. So maybe they're all seeing something. I've just been seeing Spence completely dominate everybody since he's been in. Haven't seen particularly any vulnerabilities. I know he can be hit. Brooke was definitely in the fight with him up until the tides turned.
Activity, though.
But I think,
that's a good point. I mean, Spence is a tremendous offensive fighter, almost like a Pacquiao type. But the thing is that he can be hit. And like you said, Brook proved that. His defense. I sometimes I wonder, like, is he trying to put on a show and just be really offensive and and get the job done in emphatic and dramatic fashion? And I mean, is he able to cover up? And maybe he's just taking a few punches because he knows he can, or is it because his defense is actually weak? I don't know.
Rob, Callum B says that Garcia hasn't seen anything. He's just cashing out.
I mean, why would he cash out against a guy 2 weight classes above? I mean, surely there's other fights that could be made. Maybe that's it. Maybe it is a cash out. But Mikey Garcia, in terms of his chances in the fight, I've been looking back at his fights recently, just in the build up to this, and looking at Spence's fights too. And I kind of can't see anywhere where Garcia is going to beat him unless he completely technically outboxes him and takes him to school. But the Salido fight, I think they may, as much as he was dominating Salido, he dropped him a million times. Salido was coming back into that fight with the headbutt that time that broke the nose, and I think they call it. Robert Garcia might have just saw the opportunity there to not maybe have him come through the fire. So I think there's that to be aware of. If Spence just gets on top of him on the ropes, there's that to consider. So that's not a bad possibility. And as well as that, he walked onto one, didn't he, from Martinez, and I know it was only a flash knockdown, but I'm just wondering if he walks onto a shot with the bigger puncher, would he last the distance? But really interesting fight, and I'm not ruling Garcia out, but I just think Spence has the edge.
Rob's in good company.
Sorry, I just want to. I'm sorry.
No, you go on. Go on.
No, I just want to say, I mean, first of all, that Salido, what was that, 2011? 2012.
No, I hear you. Like, I was firmly on the Mikey hype train.
And also, that wasn't necessarily Garcia. It was Robert Garcia.
True.
Basically, they were like, all right, so.
No, but the point I'm making is that Salido was starting to get to him later on in the fight as much as he
always believed that.
No, but I'm just saying, I just want to clear the record on this because, look, Mikey knocked him down 6 times, right? And then, a headbutt broke his nose or whatever. And the referee, was that fucking Lawrence? What's his name?
Donnie's getting all defensive because Rob's subliminally trying to say that Garcia quit.
He fucking didn't. Yeah, he didn't quit. What happened was that Robert Garcia.
I'm saying
he didn't fucking quit.
Later stages,
they asked Robert Garcia. They're like, do you think he's in a position to continue or whatever? And Robert Garcia
straight away. He called the referee.
It was Benji Esteves. It was Benji Esteves.
It was Esteves. Okay, so basically, Robert Garcia was like, okay, do I want a free win right now by saying he's not in a position to continue, or do I want him to keep fighting? And he basically was like,
what happened was Garcia called the referee and said, we have a broken nose here. We got a broken nose here, and they called the doctor. That's what happened. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, of course, that's neither here nor there. No, the point I'm making is that as much as he dominated him, Salido started to come on late, and I'm just wondering if the bigger weight, 2 weight classes up, will Spain start to take over in the second half? That's all, man.
Oh no! I'm just saying. I just wanted to be clear.
Get defensive.
All right, maybe so. Maybe so.
Yeah, hold on, Rob. Can I ask you a question? We're getting it on ITV4, I believe. How are you going to be able to watch it?
Yeah, I'll be in Disneyland Paris with the little one, providing she comes through her illness there. So I'll be watching it on the phone somehow. I got that app, so I'm going to watch it on that.
Watch it on the radio, okay. They're talking in the chat, Editing King again, Aussie, about Garcia's chin. If he's getting dropped at super feather, will he be able to hold up to someone who's coming in at 155 pound plus? Vasyl Lomachenko, he knows a bit about fighting, Aussie. He thinks that Spence is just going to be too big. Garcia cannot win. Spence will be too big for him. Errol Spence is a good boxer. He's one of the best, but we'll see, says Lomachenko. You going along with the great one, Aussie?
Yeah, I am. I just think size will play too much of a factor in the fight. Do we know if is there any sort of like rehydration clause, or can they just go up to whatever he wants to?
IBF, isn't it? So they have to come in.
Only £10 in the morning, though, isn't it?
That's interesting. Yeah.
Second day away in £10. Is it 12 hours? 12 hours after.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not going to be a problem for Garcia. For Spence, I mean, he's done it before, hasn't he? I think Garcia will show. I think he may have a bit of early success. By that, I don't mean, like he'll be backing Spence up or anything like that. The guy can clearly box. but I think Spence will take over and we'll get him out of there pretty handedly. I think he could stop him quite brutally, to be honest. Purely from a size perspective, look, there's only so far you can keep going up before size tells. And I think this is an instance. Look, you've not got Errol Spence, who is growing into welterweight because he's just moved up. The guy is big for 147. And like I say, he's probably going to be 10, 12, 15 pounds heavier than Garcia on when they get into the ring. That is just going to take its toll. That will just take its toll, and I think it's one step too far. Not sure I run with the cash out terms because I think I do wonder if he could have basically made more cash, potentially off a Lomachenko fight or something like that compared to an Errol Spence one. But at the same time, look, they clearly see something to take this fight. I don't see them doing it just because they're wafting a big paycheck in front of them. They clearly feel that they can exploit Errol Spence and they have the tools to do that. Sadly, I mean, fair play to them. Sadly, I just think size will tell and it will be ultimately too much. But I don't think that would signal the end for Garcia in terms of I think he'll retire. Has he been forced to vacate his lightweight titles or not?
Who was in line for that? Someone was getting in line for that, weren't they?
Luke Campbell's in for the WBC.
Luke Campbell, aye, but he's...
Teofimo Lopez was waiting for him to vacate, I think they said. So they are expecting him to maybe at some point.
Right. So, I mean, because he could drop back down there. So there'll be fights available for him. But no, I just think Errol Spence will be too much for him in the end. And I think he will get rid of him probably round 6 to 8.
You think he's going to get knocked out?
Points, I think. I think points.
Yeah, well, I don't see. I have to be honest. I don't see Mikey Garcia getting knocked out. I think he's a tough.
I think early he might do okay, to be honest, Donny. But as the fight wears on, he might start to struggle. It might resemble in parts the Brook fight, possibly.
But I think he's just. I think he's too skilled and too slick to get himself knocked out. I mean, he may be on the verge of it. He'll hang on though. I think it's going to be a points decision. I do not see this fight ending in a knockout either way. But that's just my opinion.
We love your opinion, Donny. That's why we have you on here. Where's Gabe anyway this week? I thought he was coming armed with a theme tune. He's quit like Kel. Disgusting scenes. Right. Anything else I'm missing? I'm not going to bother talking about the undercard because it's getting a bit late in it and, it can't be asked. Should we go on to Bellew of the Weeks then, shall we? I've got plenty of these.
Well, I'll give my opinion.
Go on then.
I'm wanting to see Garcia win it. I really do. But again, I just can see the sheer size of Spence probably just kind of like telling. See, the thing is, I don't think Spence is even close to have peaked yet. Actually, I mean, obviously you're going to see him up as far as maybe even middleweight. But I've seen some comments saying that Garcia walks about at 170 in the gym, right? So maybe he's at that age. What is he now? 30, 31. So he's not having to cut weight, especially for this fight. So maybe he's going to be walking about his kind of natural weight.
Well, you're saying Garcia walks around at 170?
I've seen your comments, aye.
Oh, okay.
That's his head weighs about 140, doesn't it?
Well, he's thick about the middle, isn't he? If you look at him against Broner, for example, and he did look kind of like chunky in the middle and that.
He has a big cock as well.
He's got a big head, big nose and that. But I think Garcia will probably come out. He'll definitely be cautious. He'll move about the ring. He'll probably try and jab to kind of Spence's body. Maybe try and throw a few straight hands down there because he's fighting southpaw. But I could see him getting clipped. And the thing is, I just don't know if Spence activity-wise will kind of push it. I think he'll be more cautious as well. But the size difference is really telling. Simple fact is because he's moving up and he's not had a kind of like tune-up fight, so to speak. But if he wins it, man, it's a top win. He's going to be a god of the kind of current era of sport.
If he wins, I think is it unquestionable that he's pound for pound if he does win? That he's number one.
I don't know. I probably need to see maybe Crawford probably would deserve
definitely
that.
top 15, Donny, I'd say.
Wait. You think that if Mikey Garcia wins this fight, he's the number one pound for pound fighter of the world? That's obvious.
To you, probably, aye.
Do you think it would be bigger than Tyson Douglas, Donna?
Why don't you marry Garcia, Donny?
Hey, look, I was.
See,
I
you
hated,
can continue
I hated
this love
Garcia
affair.
because actually, if you read his contract with Aram or whatever, it was actually a pretty fair contract or whatever. But he was totally deluded because Al Heyman was paying people ridiculous amounts of money that only existed in fairy tale land or whatever. So he, and obviously Heyman isn't doing that anymore. But it was in the height of that whole PBC.
Yeah, and it was at the time where he was. Most people were considering him number 3 behind Floyd and Andre Ward, or he was in the argument to be number 3 behind Floyd, Andre Ward, and then guys so he was wanting his work,
he's kind of like an Andre Ward in the sense that he was just like, "Yep, I'll take 2 years out of the ring. I'll still be just as good." And Andre Ward proved that you can take 2.5 years off or whatever and still be just as good.
Wasn't Garcia being lined up for Pacquiao, Donna?
He was being lined up for Pacquiao. I mean, that was basically Bob Arum even openly said that. Eventually Garcia is going to move up to 140, 147, and he's going to take the crown from Pacquiao or whatever. And that was the plan that was happening. And then
I will agree. If he wins, he's number 1, right? He's probably going to put himself up with say, dare I say it, some of the greats. I mean, put it this way: even if he hears the bell, right? If he hears the final bell, lasts the distance, and hears the cards, that is a victory for Garcia. If Spence wins that fight on cards, then Spence is in question. Is he overrated? He can't beat the weird guy. Remember, this guy fought at featherweight. Right? He's coming all the way up to welterweight after 5-6 years later. So if Garcia does win it, it's probably the biggest shock. I'm trying to think of one actually in recent memory. Probably the other biggest shock recently we probably need to say Tyson against Klitschko.
Yeah, I would give it that. Also, I mean, I know that he didn't train right for the fight and he was totally dehydrated. But when Pacquiao jumped up against De La Hoya, I believe he was still the underdog, and he beat him. That I would put it close to that in terms of an analogy.
Until they saw De La Hoya on the scales, shaving off his pubes to make the weight.
Yeah, a different kind of haircut.
Right, let's move on. Yeah, sorry about that, Andy. I nearly forgot about you. I'm starting to flag here, to be honest. My wife must be making weight like Sean Porter. She's had the heating blasting for about the last 2 hours. I'm starting to get a bit dehydrated here.
It's cold.
De La Hoya had them shaved already,
Partly has
make the fish nets go on easier.
Did you get a different view of that photo or something?
I cut 2 pounds of pubes nice and easy.
Right, anyway, yeah, let's move on to Bellew of the Week, shall we? First one is for Mitchell Smith, nominated by Sam. Bellew of the Week for Mitchell Smith for egging his wife on Facebook purely for likes. He wanted 600 likes on Facebook and he'd smash an egg on his wife's head. Why don't you get back in the ring, Mitchell? Do some fighting. Kevin Watson has nominated Nick Davis. Brown versus Allen could be a great scrap. Conor Benn always in exciting fights. Del Boy always turns up to scrap. And Josh Kelly is an unreal talent. They're talking about that big card on April the 20th. Bit harsh to say no one wants to see this card. If you don't like what Sky put on, don't watch it. Just my opinion. Seemed harsh, says Nick Davis. Bradley Lobo has nominated Chris Collins for talking about the Jarrell Miller-Anthony Joshua fight. Here's one for you, Ozzy. Pound for Pound podcast, talking about their chat with Tony Bellew. A new friend of the pod, possibly, Isilt Cody. Considered I skipped cousin's wedding to go to his last fight. Even my mum said she could get married again, whereas Tony wasn't going to fight again. Cannot wait for this one. Quite the character, it has to be said on Twitter. Terry Woodfine has found her anyway. Rob, what do you reckon? Get her on?
Must be very relieved. And now that Tony hasn't kept his promise to keeping out of the limelight, I'm sure that will be some small comfort for her if she has to miss any other family events.
I didn't want to mention him, Rob. Will you just leave him alone, will you? He's got podcasts to appear on and live national TV. Just give the guy a break, please.
Everybody stop following me.
Stop watching me when I'm on the telly constantly. Kurt Ward has nominated Chris Arreola. Right now, it's about legacy. I'm chasing a title, says Chris. Waiting to see how that one ends. Prime Tyke Myson was one person among many who sent this in for me from Chris at MMA Baller 13_, talking about Conor McGregor. Put up a little video against Floyd. You had Conor going Lomachenko on Floyd in round 8. Conor put out Floyd's fire in round 7. and dominated round 8. Conor even nearly finished Floyd to the body to start the 9th. Incredible. That fight was completely Conor's fight through 8.5 rounds. Dang, so close. Rematch, anyone?
Irish.
Martin Horry.
You had to be Irish, yeah.
Has nominated that as well. Ryan Younger, Andy. Lots of nominations for that one.
Go to be Irish.
There you go. Darms has nominated Derek Chisora. I think he got ripped off trying to buy Michael Bolton tickets. I watched the video during the week. I think Chisora was trying to buy tickets to go and see Michael Bolton, and he got ripped off. So sorry to hear that, Derek. Yeah, Terry Woodfine has nominated Eddie Hearn. Please follow Matchroom Italy, says Eddie. No doubt thousands went off and followed Matchroom Italy. Boxing Brave has nominated Frank Warren. Asked who'd win in a fight between himself and Eddie Hearn. I'm giving a lot of age away. I'm giving a lot of height away, a lot of weight away as well. But lock us both in a room and I think I'd come out, says Frank. He's ready to go to war with Eddie. That'd be a good fight. Darren Cope, no bullshit, Boxing Gold 2017 on Sky Sports. A look back at some classic boxing action. Kell Brook defends his title against Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin and Kevin Bizier. So Sky Sports viewers who like boxing can go and watch Boxing Gold. Lange has said Josh Kelly is going to be a more exciting version of Vasyl Lomachenko. Trust me on this one. Moz has nominated him for Bellew of the Week for that. James Bairstow has nominated Darren Cope for the whole saga. I'm not even going to get involved with that. The Twitter saga during the week. Let's just put that to one side. Unfortunately,
wait. Steve, can I just ask a question? Did you just say that Sky Sports classified Kell Brook versus Jojo Dan as Boxing Gold?
Yes, Donny. They run a Boxing Gold show. So for Boxing Gold 2017, it was Kell Brook's 3 fights against Dan, Gavin, and Bizier as part of one of their episodes.
That's not even Boxing Bronze.
What did Freddie Mercury catch again?
Boxing scrap iron, Andy, I think.
Oh my god, man! Pure
I'm
abortion
still stuck
material.
I'm still stuck on Chisora like a Michael Bolton. What's he do? He wants to change up his music, man. You can't be sparring there. How am I supposed to live without you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
He was raging. He goes, I hope that fucking guy has a heart attack, yeah.
That's what he gets for buying tickets off. What's the crowd? What's the crowd that's over that's linked with DAZN and
StubHub.
StubHub. Don't buy your tickets off StubHub, man. You'll be all right.
There we go. Right, Giles has nominated Jake Wood, the Pound for Pound podcast, currently the #1 boxing podcast in the UK. Literally unbelievable, says Giles. Can get on board with that one. Hattenbaum has nominated Paulie Malignaggi. Conor the Coward at Notorious MMA, says Paulie. With 2-minute rounds, I'm sure even you can't quit at this. Time to settle it. Bare Knuckle FC wants to fight Conor in bare knuckle, does Malignaggi. He will not let it go.
Fucking hell. fucking Cripplefish is going to fucking fight bare knuckle, right?
If Malignaggi wants to fight McGregor bare knuckle style, then it's only fair that he does a bare knuckle style call out to Conor McGregor where he's wearing a vest with his hair slicked back saying, "Where's your balls, Conor? You get your fair play, man. I get my fair play, man. Where's your balls, Conor?" Yeah.
I got to do one of them. Box Hard podcast. We've got podcasts recommending Bellew of the Weeks here. Paul Dempsey. He said on Friday night, they say you can't sell out arenas on a Friday. You can when you've got fighters like Johnny Carton on the bill instead of Johnny Garton. Dempsey's terrible with names, isn't he? You've got the old Ronald McDonald sketch that was going around on Twitter's a particular good one. Babs has nominated Steve Collins. What relationship, he says, to Mike Coppinger? Has Wilder ever said any more than 2 words to Eddie Hearn? Yeah, it's Mike Coppinger who's getting nominated, basically, anyway, for various offences. Judas has nominated Driscoll. Spencer Oliver is becoming like Mr. Smith, the voice of boxing on Sky Sports. Only one Spencer. The Texas Tornado, Gabe, threw in this one from Jipper. Fight disciples, the daft cunts. Mike Coppinger was reporting Sean Porter coming overweight. He'll only have a couple of hours to drop the weight, etc. Fight disciples. These casuals jumped in and said, "Who's told you that? He hasn't even weighed in yet. Out of order. Someone within the camp is telling you this and then you're posting it." And then seconds later, Fight Disciples put up the WBC welterweight title, blah, blah, blah. Sean Porter has just come in overweight. He has 2 hours, etc.
Is that Cattrall Gadget, eh?
I think so. Someone Cattrall, yeah, from these Fight Disciples. I've never listened to it. I don't know, Ozzy.
Adam Cattrall, yeah, Talk Sport. There's Fight Disciples as well.
Freddie Mercury type then.
Mamma mia, let me go.
talking of the Paulie Malignaggi situation, someone put in a good little tweet below, getting it stuck in on Paulie. I don't know whether he got blocked for this or not, but Mark at Philippians 413 jumped in and said, "Isn't at Paulie Malignaggi like that annoying little cunt sitting in the corner who won't shut up his cake hole? Done the same with Pacquiao. Listen, at Paulie Malignaggi," so he tagged him in twice to make sure he got this. "You never got the big fights because you're an average overachiever at best. That's the fact on the matter." So Mark going in on old Paulie there. I don't think he responded. Another week, another belt. This time, Guillermo Quitondo has nominated Hector Suleiman, one of the Suleimans. The Suleimans are now giving out WBC world titles to police officers. What's next? Rumour has it the African guy that drives the 314 bus near me is going to get one too, says Quitondo. So Bellew of the Week nomination for Hector Suleiman. Anthony has nominated Lornello. "I am so over all the talk about White turning down AJ. I watch Eubank destroy DeGale, and that's the fight we should demand. AJ has stamina issues, and Eubank has a good engine." I'm sure he must be. He must be trolling on that one. Christoph has nominated MBT Boxing. It's Jamel Charlo Fight Week. Oh, here's a good one. Quite a few sent this one in to me. Kingdom Boxing. Can you imagine Chris Eubank Jr. in the ring with Dimitri Bivol? He would give him nightmares with the pressure he puts people under. I could see Eubank stopping him. Box Royalty sent that in. So did darts legend Chris Mason. What do you think about that one then, Rob? Chris Eubank Jr. would give Bivol nightmares with his pressure. Rob's gone speechless. He can't believe it.
If Bivol was to fight Chris Eubank Jr., what he would do to him wouldn't be well, it would be funny. It'd be hilarious, actually. He would absolutely hook the head off him all night. He'd hit him with everything. He'd see him coming a mile away. Bivol would school Eubank 12 rounds to zip.
12-0, baby.
He'd be made for him, wouldn't he, Eubank, leaning in, and Bivol would be like, "Take a step back. Thank you. Bop, bop, bop."
He'd be posing. He'd be getting the head jabbed off him. Oh, it'd be glorious.
If you think Grove schooled him, what would fucking Bivol do? And Bivol's prime.
Exactly. Bivol is the right here, right now. There's no way Chris Senior be having a fucking thing. He would. There's no way. He'd have to put the girlfriend down. Didn't Melissa ask him, "What are you doing now after to celebrate the fight?" He was like, "My girlfriend is waiting for me." I was like, "Oh shit, Chris. Well, all right, man." He'd have to put the girlfriend down. Bivol was around.
Chris Eubank says, "I've got my dad to go home, mate."
Jason Chukwu says Bivol
Like
versus Eubank would be like what Carl Thompson did to his dad. So Chukwu getting stuck in on that one. Yeah, there you go. Bivol will be taking the IBO title
Actually,
home.
just wanted to get where you mentioned Paul Dempsey. Want to say, give Paul Dempsey a lot of credit, because no matter what the broadcaster is on, he's going to call it, because he got Frank Warren the other night and start grilling him over Fury not having the Wilder rematch, and that would never happen. I don't want to dwell on too much, but that would never happen on Sky. No Sky broadcaster would get Eddie Hearn and start hammering him and say, "Look, man, this is not good enough." Like,
Dempsey was class, wasn't he? After David Hay fought that Demore, and he basically shit on him. In the next fight, Dempsey was out like a shot.
Yeah, but he doesn't give a shit. He's going to call it like he sees it.
That's what we need, man. That's what we need.
Exactly. Big time.
Yes, exactly. Him and Ian Dark. TBE combination. Jay King has nominated Be Real TV, keeping it real when it comes to the Crawford-Khan fight. An outcome most are overlooking, says Be Real TV, and seems so far-fetched is a KO win for Amir Khan. LaGreco went some rounds against Spence, but was annihilated by Khan inside a round. The power is there for AK. Crawford has shown glimpses of vulnerability and has not faced the elite at 147. He hasn't faced the elite at 147. I'll agree with that with Mr. TV. But I'm not sure about the rest of it now.
I'm sorry, that's not a value of the week. I mean, Crawford.
Shut the fuck up, you.
Fuck you. No, Crawford was in trouble against the Cuban fella. What's
Gamboa.
Gamboa was a hell of a fighter, man.
Gamboa, yeah.
Very fast, isn't he, Gamboa?
Yeah, juice head as well.
And that was.
Sorry, Donnie, we can't hear you, mate.
I'm just saying. Obviously, I mean, personally, like, Steve Wellings' grandmother could hit Amir Khan, and there's a decent chance that he'd at least be staggered.
I don't think in her current state she would, to be fair, Donnie.
but no, I mean, I'm not kidding. But like, no, there is a good point though. The fact that, like, I mean, we don't know, like, when Crawford gets hit by a guy. You know, I mean, at this point, Khan, now at this point in his career, he's a full 147 pounds, and if he hits Crawford hard, yeah, he could hurt him. That's not a value of the week to me. Sorry.
I'm going to remove that one, Donnie, in your honour. Is that all right?
That's fine with me. Yeah. Go ahead.
Be gone with you, Mr. Be Real TV. Keith Idek has been nominated by Chad Hogan over on Asylum BOTW. Go and follow us on Twitter there. Just so we're clear, I'm blocking anyone, says Keith, that tweets about how Golovkin should fight Demetrius Andrade in June. That goes for any journalist as well. There's $30 million+ at stake. Keith is angry for Golovkin to fight Canelo. He's not going to fight Andrade, is he? Keith Idek. You deck ya. Yeah, Chad. Chad has thrown in another one here, by the way. This is the last one I think I've got. Eric F. Aragon, TLK Boxing Talk. Here is my all-time heavyweight list, says Aragon. I should have got some countdown music for this, shouldn't I? Coming in at number 10, Jack Johnson. 9, Larry Holmes. 8, Joe Frazier. 7, Mike Tyson. 6, Vladimir Klitschko. 5, Lennox Lewis. 4, George Foreman. 3, Muhammad Ali. 2, Joe Lewis. And number 1, Evander Holyfield. Eric F. Aragon, TLK Boxing Talk, Rob. Get down.
The mere fact you've got Ali and Lewis sitting 2 and 3 and that, just shut the fuck up. They're 1 and 2.
Evander Holyfield.
That's all the ones that I've got, gentlemen. Anybody else want to?
I've got one.
All right, on you, mate.
No, it's just a quick one. Like when you mentioned Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis was on the Joe Rogan podcast this week with the comedian Russell Peters. Apparently they're mates. They fucking hang out or whatever. It's a bit weird. But they look like they were all baked anyway and having a great time. But Lennox said on the podcast, joking that he'd come back and fight Tyson for $100 million. Right? And everywhere I looked this week on the internet, people had it as a headline: Lennox Lewis tempts comeback with Mike Tyson for $100 million. He's fucking joking. It's a joke. You know, Tyson was washed up when they fought the first time. That fight was a farce. Now they're fucking there when they're 50 years of age. Give me a break. He was joking. I don't know.
Nomination there from Rob, Andy.
I got
one. Steve, did you get the one for Kurt about Chris Areola?
Yes, I've read that one out already.
Right, good, okay. Did any of you watch the thing on Netflix yet? The thing called Loser, the thing on Michael Bent. Anybody seen it yet?
I couldn't find it, Andy. No, I looked for it.
I've seen the trailer for it. I'm going to watch it. I have it on the watch list. I
watched it. Right? It's really, it's fucking brilliant.
Michael Bent, who knocked out Tommy Morrison.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant, right? Because it tells about his story in that as a youngster, he had a very, very abusive father, right? And he didn't really want to box, but his dad was like a big Ali fan, and he fucking beat him up with pipes and wires and that, forced him to fucking fight. Became multi-time Golden Gloves champion and all that sort of thing. I think he got knocked out in his pro debut, if I remember rightly, right? And his dad was abusive as anything. He's into the acting world and that now, right? Michael Bent, and it was how he told the story was absolutely fucking hilarious. And I still think about it to this day. Is when he mimics his dad when he gets knocked out in his pro debut, right? His dad's like fucking raging at him. He puts on the Jamaican accent. Oh, my fucking son lost the fucking fight. It's just the way he came out. It was fucking
Michael Grant's father from Dublin, obviously.
I couldn't. Obviously, I can't pull that one off. And I need to put in that referee in Mexico last night. I don't know what his fucking name was. Editing King put it up on Twitter earlier on that Aaron Herrera.
That's years old, Andy.
Is it?
Yeah, that's an old one. We had that on Bellevue a couple of years ago.
Oh, right. I got caught out that one. I thought it was a recent one, and that's my bad. Then
that was a cracker, that one too.
Pretty sure we had that before, yeah.
Aye.
Any from you,
it just
Donald?
goes to show you, though, if you really want to train a fighter to come up, look at Roy Jones, look at Michael Grant. Just be an abusive father to your children, and you'll get a world champion.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, they're like Floyd Mayweather Senior, Roy Jones Senior. Yeah,
I was going to say Jones's dad beat him as well, didn't they? You're right, Donny, about Jones's dad, yeah.
Oh God, Jones's dad.
Greatness.
You know what? The best story I've ever heard about Roy Jones's dad was that he used to make him take like a baseball bat or something, and he would have him spin around. He would like literally have him put his finger on it and spin around, so he would get dizzy, right? And then Roy Jones Sr. used to swing the fucking baseball bat at him, right, while he was dizzy, because he said, "This is what you're gonna have to deal with when you get hurt."
used to hammer nails into pieces of wood as well. He had quite the artillery.
Yeah. Oh my God! Like the stories that you hear, they sound like literally like not even just child abuse, but like aggravated child abuse. But like I mean, in the crucible of those horrific experiences, he forged one of the greatest champions that ever has been. So I mean, yeah, you know what? There's something to be said for child abuse. It kind of works.
Method to the madness.
Bet you're gutted now, aren't you, Donna, you loser?
So my nomination for this week actually is, first of all, I mean, the funniest thing is that, I mean, basically, Adrian Broder, he is such the obvious example of being the poor man's Floyd Mayweather, literally speaking.
Oh, he got sued. That's right.
Oh yeah, so he was sued this week, and he had to work out a payment plan with the courts to pay off $1 million in jewelry debt.
That's my winner, baby.
And I wouldn't even mind if he had, proposed to some chick or whatever. But no, it was just like all of his like fucking bling that he wears around it. So like he walks into the ring and he doesn't even own it because other people have claims.
Steve, I actually nominated that one earlier.
Multiple jewelry items which totaled $1.252 million, but he paid for it with a check, and then the check didn't clear.
You're right, Andy. I forgot to screenshot it. You did send it to me. I see it now.
Yeah, so he had to work out a payment plan with the courts, but apparently all is kosher now, and all of his proceeds from the Pacquiao versus Broner fight are gonna go to the jewelers.
Dan the jeweler, he's a friend of ours.
What a fucking loser, man.
What an idiot. Like, imagine getting a big multi-million-pound check, and the first thing you go is go and piss it away on frigging shitty jewelry.
The thing is as well, like, where do you stop? Like, when you get to 500 grand, you're like, it's just not enough. I haven't got enough for $500,000, so I'm going to go have spring for the whole million. What
He's a fucking loser, man. I can't wait for him to go broke. I'm going to enjoy that day. Like,
down cash converters selling off his cheap Spanish gold.
Man, he's taking that money right out of his kid's fucking future. What a cunt! An absolute prick.
You're right. Yeah, he does have like 7 kids. I mean,
exactly, but Donny, he deserves to be homeless. He's a fucking prick.
I know he does, but I feel bad for his 7 kids that they're not getting that.
He's got more than 7 kids, man. He's got a fucking tribe with them, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, he's got more kids than Wellings.
Mark my words, with Showtime going the way they're going, he'll be back on your screens before the end of the year in another big fight, getting another ass whooping. I can guarantee it.
He's trying to catch up with Maurice Hooker, isn't he? With all the children.
Good fight at 140. Watch that cross.
Oh, there you go. All the kids at flip me. You'd have to friggin' hire out ringside to get them all on, wouldn't you? Extra seats. Anyway, sorry, Ozzy, have you got any nominations?
No, mine have been covered already.
Yeah, there's a few that I like. I liked the guy at the end, TLK Boxing, who was giving his heavyweight thing. I also like Boxing Kingdom. They were discussing Bivol against Eubank Jr. Oh, I don't know, Donny. Who should we go for this week? Who are you going for? I'm going for was it Kingdom Boxing or Kingdom Boxing? Must be a Boxing Kingdom spin-off.
No, I'm sorry. I got to go for Sky Sports calling Kilbrook versus Jojo Dan boxing goal. That's I don't know. I mean that really cracks me up. I think that takes the cake for me.
There you
go. Yeah.
Yep. Like Sky Sports Boxing. Andy, who are you going for?
Adrian Broner.
Adrian Broner, why not? Let's chuck in a nice shiny belt for him as well, Ozzy. A Bellew of the Week trophy, maybe.
No, I'm going to give it to the Fight Disciples, who slagged off Coppinger for his comments on Porter missing the weight. And prior to that, I'd actually tweeted it out himself. So it's like 2 of them run the account. One of them tweeted out mocking Porter about missing the weight and then slagged off Coppinger for saying it when the weigh-in hadn't actually gone ahead. So I'm more than happy nominating Fight Disciples for that mishap.
I hadn't realised that's what had happened. Yeah, I knew that. I thought it was the same guy, but once you've given that context, yeah, I think I'm going for Fight Disciples as well. In the light of that information, it reeks of Bunsey on Ben Jacobs back in the day as well a little bit. Rob, who are you going for?
I'm really going to throw a spanner in the works because I'm going for Malinazi having a bare knuckle fight against Artem Lobev in 2019. It's definitely a bizarro world that we're living in. Like, is this a simulation? Is there a glitch in the Matrix? Paulie Malinazi is having a bare knuckle fight against Artem Lobov.
Yeah, fucking brittle fists.
Fucking hell, man. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's bad for me. Like,
bare knuckle for old Malinage. Yeah, Fight Disciples won it then. Congratulations to them. A worthy cause, no doubt. They are the podcast of the year, after all. I shall not go and listen to them, though. A few questions. We'll leave them until next week. We've gone over time, but thank you, everybody in the chat, for listening to us as usual. Thanks for wrapping Rob Kelly for jumping on the call. Also, Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, Donny Baseball. Great to have Donny back. Love a bit of Donny on a Sunday evening. Hopefully, we'll get Dave, Gabe, and all the other boys back next week. Maybe a bit of Smido. Who knows? Thanks to Denzel Bentley for jumping on earlier. Really enjoyed him, and also Atif Shafiq as well. He jumped on at 8:15. Seems a lifetime ago that he came on. Congratulations to those guys. They're doing really well with their careers. I thought they both spoke very well. Go and give them a follow. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again next week. Same place. Goodbye.